since we are starting to record, which is good only. Here's the thing: I don't get this. First part of the movie, the first movie got universal praise. Second movie where they are saying the characterization is hollow. I am like, तुम लोग क्या पागल हो? तुम
that's what
लोग
I
क्या
saw. I was
चूतिए हो?
like,
I'm like, तुम लोग क्या
ये
चूतिए
PG-13
हो?
रखना था. PG-13.
So I
चूतियो
mean,
is PG-13.
I want to
No,
understand
it's
what
not.
was the
This is not a
difference.
Love Ranjan movie.
So what is like what is I mean I saw Letterbox like after the whole after what I mean I didn't want to I mean I'd already been like
Inundated
I'll
with
start
this.
okay I'll start with my viewing experience. So
Yes.
my in the beginning I had read about
कि
this
एक सेकंड
whole
दिस इज चालू तो हेलो 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 बोलना पड़ेगा.
जादू मंतर जादू मंतर जादू मंतर. You are going into the future.
You talking to me?
Ain't always BBC clothing. Yeah.
The queen is dead. Hello.
Whatever, man.
Welcome to today's podcast. We are releasing an audio only
We are
podcast
actually doing
after
a podcast.
while.
Yay.
Yeah,
We
after
are
a long
actually
while.
doing a podcast.
But we will be back regularly into doing this because we have a lot, because Oscars are ending, so we don't have to watch a lot of the Oscar movies to catch up.
I am so glad that they are
also
ending. I have
April
enough.
comes up with a lot of like big release. I mean the summer releases and everything.
Another
leading up to
desert
that
movie,
weekend
no?
go a lot.
Another
God.
desert, sand, whatever movie. Yeah.
Which one?
With
Furiosa.
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 Yep.
Furiosa, And imagine like did the Furiosa trailer play in the beginning of all?
Yes, it did.
I
It did.
remember her
I've
really
arrived
worked,
late,
right?
so-
When
Same,
they said
same.
remember her, everyone was like behind me, oh her, oh like that's
Alia
Uh,
Atreides, yes.
yeah,
We remember her.
yeah. So I guess we have kind of hinted which film we are going to discuss. Considering Atreides has already been mentioned, and then there'll be multi. Like we should do that glossary of Dune terminology. Basically, there's so many names and so many whatever family genes and all
amount
that.
of
Wait,
names
let
that
me
Paul
bring my
Atreides
book.
has.
Let me
Marty-
bring my book. Let me bring my book. Hold on.
Yeah.
I need to bring my book. No,
Yeah.
never mind. I'm kidding.
It's
Me
fine.
now,
I'm not
I'm
going
not
to
in
cheap and
paper
shatter.
media anymore. I have an ebook.
Ebook,
I
yeah.
like like this is how I read my like this is how I read my like books now. Like, so
Yikes.
directly
Hey,
from
I'm not
looking at
that
my phone.
disrespectful. I'm not that disrespectful. I have a
Amartya,
Kindle.
Amartya
Okay,
is
I can-
holding up a Kindle. I thought that was the book cover. Never mind.
Yeah, I was-
No,
that's
I have
wild.
I have the original paperback,
Uh-huh.
which is huge,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
May
very
thou
dense.
devices cheap and shatter.
Oh God.
Yes,
Already
of
we've started
course.
with the. So we have Amartya, Prithwish, and Hemant with us discussing the film today. Sorry, films. I'm saying.
Almost the original
Yeah,
cast.
it's sort of like a
minus-
films only, actually, in
Yeah.
some way, because we will be discussing a little bit of Dune Part One and maybe Dune Messiah, even before probably Villeneuve has discussed it with his crew.
He's writing part.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
But
must
yes,
be scratching. He must be trying to, tear his hair out at this point. He's like, how the hell am I going to make this accessible? What am I going to do with this?
I think, I mean, now he has set himself up really well, right? But anyway,
Somewhat,
I mean,
yes.
Yeah. So we are talking about Dune Part Two, the film which is made a lot of money recently, and I think for good
It's-
reasons. I'm very happy that it's doing well. It's made 178 million worldwide.
Yeah.
And it's made on a budget of 190. So we are expecting it'll double that at least by the end of.
Yeah, to all the
by the
people,
end of this
to-
weekend, yes, yeah. By
to
this
all
week,
the
yeah.
people, to all the people who are saying, ki all the technical awards will go to Dune Part 2 in the next year, all I will say is please shut the fuck up.
Oh, Abhi sir.
Please.
I no
please.
you don't, again, you've said one use of the PG-13 has been
Yeah,
violated.
PG-13.
No.
We won. I mean, that's all we had, man. Like, that's all we had.
Yeah, we should have used it more
Silence.
strategically to
Yeah,
give.
you could have at least X-Men First Class had like these guys saying it together.
No, even you know what? Oppenheimer had a lot of F-word usage, but it still got a US certificate in India.
Yeah, but that's because of the black dress, no?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's suggestive. Yeah, that's all they have
Yeah.
there.
It
Yeah.
looked like somebody put that Game of Thrones ka grayscale on top of Lawrence Pugh's character.
Sure. Dhruv does not like that reference because
No, but I understand. No, I have heard enough criticisms about the last season of Game of Thrones, I
Game of
think.
Thrones.
So, yeah. But anyways, actually, Game of Thrones might not be a bad reference point for something like
Yeah,
Dune, also considering there's a lot of whatever power dynamics, like in terms of who should be the emperor and all
Oh
that
my
stuff
God,
here
no,
going
Game
on,
of
yeah.
Thrones is completely stolen off of Dune a lot. Like
Dune,
Children
okay.
of
Sir, what is not stolen off of Dune?
That's
Star
what
Wars is what I'm
Star
stolen
Wars
off of
is.
Dune.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we'll be discussing Dune Part 2. We'll be first discussing. I suppose we can begin a little bit by talking about Villeneuve himself and sort of the expectations we have with him as a director, his other work. Then we can sort of talk about Part 1 and then dive into Part 2 properly. So yeah, guys, I'll go with each of you first, I suppose, about Villeneuve or Villeneuve. I don't know how to pronounce his last name without,
Villeneuve.
Nev. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Denny.
जो
Let's
भी
call him Denny. I think that's fine.
हाँ
So
पड़ोस में रहता है तो हाँ चलो
Dennis.
I mean, we can call him. He's
Denis
French,
भाई
Quebec, or whatever it is. Dennis bhai. Yeah.
Dennis bhai.
Yeah.
He's from
Amartya,
Ramnagar.
you go ahead, Amartya, first. About Villeneuve's filmography, your response to it, and all.
No, I think his direction is at this point it's quite above reproach. We all know that matlab, his technical prowess is immaculate, but one thing which you will realize by watching his filmography is every movie he's improving.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
in Blade Runner 2049, if you see Blade Runner 2049, which I love, I genuinely think it's my favorite movie of his. In Blade Runner 2049, the one criticism which I think even Sanji shares with me is the fact that he holds the shot length for too long. You know,
But that's to honor the Ridley Scott boredom of
I
the first one,
guess,
right?
yeah, but I'm still saying it's like kind of the shot length is too long. In Dune Part 2, the editing is much crisper. At least in some cases, it's quite fast.
Yeah.
There are also instances where you will realize that in Dune Part 1, he's experimenting with scale. That is why, everything was about scale. But here I
In
saw
Dune
that
Part 1, you mean he was
yeah, in
experimenting
Part
with
1,
scale.
yeah.
Okay,
In Part 2, though, I saw that he has become much more adept at, balancing scale with emotional complexity. Matlab, the same balance he had brought in Arrival, he somewhat was able to bring it here.
Sure.
So I like the fact we are watching an auteur develop and, kind of improve in real time.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to watch. Like we did not start watching Nolan ka earlier movies to understand how he's developing, right? In real time, we didn't do that.
Yep.
Villeneuve, though, we are in a strange position where we can actually understand that he's developing himself in real time, and that is
I
a
think
fascinating thing
he
to
did
watch.
3 movies first, and I think he took a break after that, and then had a proper stylistic switch up. Because I think the first 3
Yes.
are like very different to what you expect. What you see in Ensembles is, I think, the first film. After which he got that sort of
Maelstrom,
reputation.
I think Maelstrom,
Maelstrom
Ensembles,
is
Maelstrom, and
very
then
weird.
Enemy. Maelstrom is very
So,
weird.
and Enemy is also very weird.
Enemy is very weird. Enemy has a
Enemy's
spider scene,
first
which is
science
like
fiction film, right? Sort of science fiction. It's counted as science fiction, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, more or less supernatural also somewhat to a certain
Yeah.
degree, I suppose.
So I think, Prithwish, you go ahead first, then I'll go, and then Hemant, because he's somewhere. Yeah.
Why me? Okay.
I can go first.
I'll
It's fine.
just-
There's no problem. Yeah.
Okay,
Is
you go ahead.
Prithwish trying the IR infrared look which Fahad Ratha utilized? The entire screen is looking like that at this point. He's trying to be Austin Butler.
Yeah,
All
I was
you need
actually
to do is
wondering
shave
why
off your
Prithvish
head
has
and
suddenly turned
eyebrows.
into a Harkonnen.
Harken.
Yes.
Maybe I'm
Or
under the
you
black
look
sun
kind of
right
like
now.
inside Llewyn Davis.
That is more like it, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, no, so I mean, my impression, I mean, I'm a big Denis Villeneuve fan. I think since I've heard a lot of people say that Prisoners and Ensembles aren't as good as I think they are, so I would like to go back and watch them. But from
No,
Sicario,
I kind of, sorry to interrupt. I kind of don't agree with the Prisoners thing. I think
sure,
Prisoners though is very, you know, it's that seriousness ka problem in a very pulpy setting, right?
sure.
So that is why it becomes kind of, there is a push and pull there. But I think Prisoners is still a very well made
Sure.
movie.
I mean, Ensembles is a Oedipal film. Like it's
Yeah, on Sundays is
based off of that. So I mean, it's a really messed up movie, and it's about a lot of war situation. I've just heard some people say that you should try and go look back at it. Maybe you won't like it as much. So I would want to, and I will someday. But I am a huge fan of Arrival. I've been a huge fan of Blade Runner 2049. Actually, I wanted to watch it before watching Dune. Um,
Mm.
Part 2, just because I wanted to sort
Much
of
better than Ridley's original. I respect Ridley Scott's original, but
I'm in the same
sequel
boat
blows it out of the
with
water.
the 2049 thing. I've always been
Yeah.
a
I
big
would
fan.
say Ridley Scott's Blade Runner थोड़ा सा वो बह गया था emotions में थोड़ा सा. It was
It's
too
cool.
carried
It
away.
is. Are you trying to make a pun here? Like, are you?
No, but I think
Is
it's
it
more to
like
do with.
Tears in the Rain? Is it washed away?
Yes, it's
They-
washed away
but
completely.
I think it's the whole. But I mean, to be honest, Ridley Scott did create the world, so I think it's very much an idea of Denis had that blueprint, but then did I think much more with the narrative than I
Yeah.
thought where he'll take it, and I think some of that is seen. You can see some of its influence in Dune Part 2 also to
Mm.
some extent.
Mm.
But yeah, and I mean, I'm the only film of his actually I've not liked is Dune Part 1. So I mean, I went in whatever
Yes.
fairly skeptical about
Same.
his work here, but less because of him, because I actually thought that the juggling of what you have as I think because this is like Blade Runner is an art house science fiction film inherently like I don't think it's mainstreamed even the first one like it belongs more in the indie space at least than a sort of Dune, which I think Dune is going for almost a serious
I
Star
think
Wars to me. So
I think the Blade Runner art house thingy was more in line because if you remember correctly, when Blade Runner was first, I'm saying if you remember correctly, like I
1980s.
was
हाँ मैं
fucking like
जिंदा
yeah,
था
like
ना
I was
हाँ
fucking born in the 80s. I wasn't. But
okay
the
this
point
this
being,
this thing has gone past PG-13 so
Yeah,
yes go
PG.
ahead
It's
yeah,
not. I mean, well,
yeah
you're not there anymore.
broken the
yeah,
barriers Amrit
I
so
mean,
yes
no, but
Denny started R-rated, so let's
yeah,
just
yeah so we'll
no,
go
but
with
again, it's
subside
Go
like
into
eventually into PG-13.
yeah.
Eventually.
But again, it's like if you think about it,
Hmm.
Blade Runner when it was coming out, it was coming out I think immediately after Raiders, if I'm not
yep
wrong. Okay, so
82
it's
man I think yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So around that time, or Star Wars has just happened, and then Blade Runner is coming out. So it's
Hmm.
like it was positioned to be mainstream.
Hmm.
Okay, and then because it became so slow, and that is why people rejected it, and then it got some sort of a cult following, and then it became art house.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's more to do with then pacing, I suppose.
Yes,
Because like when you said that the short length in Blade Runner 2049 is long, I'm
Mm,
like
it's
that.
quite
I
long.
watched it in an IMAX cinema with like a proper full crowd, and I was like, people are gonna hate this because I was like, it takes so much time to it to be with its characters or soak in the atmosphere
Roger
in a way.
Roger
Uh,
Deakins was on another level in that movie. I'm like,
yep.
Yeah, I think this
man.
more the movie more catered to his pacing like styles or his
Hmm.
sensibility. Have you ever seen Roger Deakins's book? Like he has a book called Byways.
No,
Hmm.
no,
It's
no.
a photo book. It's a very nice coffee table book.
Okay.
And he has a huge like penchant to having empty spaces and like single subjects.
Ah,
But and he's not a fan of close-ups. He's not a fan of like long lenses.
Do you
He's a
think
very
so very Leone.
that's why his No Country for Old Men, Assassination of
Yeah.
Jesse James, ka wo clearly
yeah.
that train shot of it coming
Yeah, and
from
it's
whatever
he says it's mythic. It's something that's
mythic.
it creates a mythology to images,
Yep.
and that is something that Denis is a master at. He's
Yeah.
great at. I love Denis. I
Clearly.
think his whole style,
Mm.
like his whole visual, like language, really came like bare in the Dune Part 1
Yeah.
because he had no. The thing with these kind of big movies is that there is no way to hide your style.
Yeah.
Like
No.
James Cameron is that way. You can clearly see that this guy is like he's very much influenced by Tony Scott and all that kind of 80s kind of filmmaking. Where it's like long lenses and it's all tracking shots and it's all based on cut. It's all based on medium length shots instead of having shortcuts.
Yes, exactly.
And I think Denny has the same sensibility. Like he has very medium length shots in most of his movies, except for Blade Runner. I think Blade Runner was solely because first there is no material there. Like if you read the screenplay, there's not a lot there going on there.
No,
It's
it
a very
isn't.
kind of convoluted plot that happens in the middle, and only there is all the short lengths get smaller and
No,
smaller, and that's
and I
about
and I
it.
and I also feel there is some kind of tension that always goes on in Dennis' movies, like before
Yes,
Dune happened.
for sure.
Because
Yeah.
I was going to mention Sicario since nobody mentioned Sicario.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think also there is also a lot of single what was the term Hemant just
Tracking
used, like
shot?
that shot where
Tracking shot, yeah.
tracking
Yeah.
shot, and also like a shot which is going on for a long time,
Yeah.
Yeah,
for a
it's
longer period of time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
think
I think
Sicario, what you mentioned, I think is the
Sicario also
first
had
action
also
sequence,
had
I
the
think,
I think
with where
Sicario, I think
they basically
Sicario
likes
go
to
lends
do.
and
itself
also
to
watch.
that.
Yeah.
the
Sicario
final
lended itself to
sequence,
that, right?
also the
Mhm.
final sequence, the sequences I remember when Emily
With
Blunt
Benicio
came
del
up
Toro. Yeah.
Yeah.
with
Mm.
Benicio del Toro after the first action sequence when she was
Mm.
Sure.
just trying to process what happened with her.
Yeah,
Medellin.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Right after
and
Medellin.
all,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I feel
I
So
think
I think
Sicario lended itself to that, right? Because I think
Like
again, this is
I
not
think the only
really
one that we all missed was the Enemy and Sicario for me are like a great double feature. They're very similar color palette is what I think.
Enemy is like
Mm.
really sickly though. I feel like it's almost
Sickly,
like
and then you get to like a
green,
little more
brown,
toned down
yellow.
or
Yeah.
muted
I
kind of
think Hemant
Sicario.
if double feature, I think visually it is very similar, right? But I
Yeah,
think
but not thematically, of course not. Yeah,
thematically, of course
I
not. It's
don't think
like
his almost all of his movies have pairs. Like Onsendies and Dune Part One is a great pair.
Because
Your
Onsondi is
Enemy
actually set a
and
lot in that sort of environment also.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
like
yeah,
not in a
Enemy and
desert.
Prisoners
Yeah.
are about the same thematically.
Mm-hmm.
You got your Sicario, and I believe that he's
I actually feel almost Arrival is the odd one
Arrival.
out
No,
in
Arrival.
some,
I feel
no?
like Arrival and
Arrival is
Dune
Dune
Part
Part
Two are
2.
very similar.
Arrival and Dune Part 2.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Fair
For
enough.
me at least.
Hmm.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. No, I
Okay.
agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Because it's a lot
Interesting.
of like that kind of like looking forward, looking backward. Of course,
Yes, yes.
technically also it makes sense because he
Hmm.
is looking forward and backward at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And
I
he's
liked more in how he's balancing the visuals and the themes. In like he's
yeah,
doing it very
Sure.
well in
I
Arrival.
could
He's
no,
doing it
okay.
very well in Dune
Huh, but
Part
I
2. Yeah.
feel in Arrival for me at least it was one of those science fictions which is the character based science fiction where it's like,
Yes.
she's the main, visuals are slightly sublimated below, but like
Mm.
that's the hierarchy there.
I
Blade
thought
Runner
that
maybe
there
it's
was the same
flipped.
with actually this is the thing that I disagree with about Blade Runner about the short lens and how
Huh.
it was because it's a character
Okay.
story. It's a
Yeah.
completely he is
This is
someone
Okay.
who's
Okay.
only a character kind of guy.
2049,
I don't
right?
yeah
So
2049.
2014.
I don't
yeah.
think he gives too much of I'm gonna
You
say
can
it
say no.
about
Yeah.
yeah
हो गया अब तो खत्म,
about
yeah.
the plot.
PG-13 gone down the drain.
Yeah, I don't think he cares about plot. Like I really don't think so.
Oh,
I mean, he doesn't
clearly he
write his
doesn't.
scripts a lot, so a
Clearly
lot
he
of them he's
doesn't. If
literally.
you listen to his interviews,
No,
clearly he
he
doesn't.
He doesn't care
recently
about
also mentioned.
dialogue.
Yeah, he recently mentioned about this. I don't care about dialogue. Cinema is all about visuals and sound.
Which I think is,
And
but
I
that fits
agree.
very well with your mythic thing. What you're saying about mythic
Yeah,
images,
I mean,
right?
this is the whole mythic thing is actually coming from not just
No,
Roger Deakins.
Deakins.
Yeah, Roger Deakins comes from like the school of thought that you have a lot of at least at that time there were no scripts, right? Like they didn't have screenwriters that they could really look. They would have just scripts that they come in or stories that come in, and then they just made
Visual
a
style from it.
out of it. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of mentality that he also has where you just have a story to tell, you have a theme that you're trying to put across, and that's the only way you can really put across because there is an inevitability that comes when you do that. Like okay, let's go back to now Dune Part 1, right? In Dune Part 1 there is never a doubt that Paul is going to be the Messiah, or he is supposed to be the Messiah, or there is something special about him.
Yeah.
And since we are in his perspective, we are forced to see things his way, as he is experiencing them. And that causes us to be in like this mindset of, oh, yeah, it's inevitable. This guy's gonna have to deal with all these situations, and we are just preparing as he is to to look at that situation or to actually experience that situation eventually. But that situation never comes like in the first one. That's why it feels like an empty experience.
I mean, the
first-
situation, but so I guess we have transmuted a little bit into Dune Part 1 only, so we can just go on from there and talk about Dune Part 1 and then move to 2. I mean, I rewatched it recently because I was like, first time I had watched, I didn't like, I'm a Denis Villeneuve fan, give it another try, that sort of relationship with the film. And I watched it this time and I was like, there is a story, like there is a setup payoff angle that's happening there.
Yes.
I don't care about it. It's the different matter of opinion. Like I think what
I
Hemant
think
you were saying
that's the
about
bigger problem. That's the bigger problem.
we know what's gonna happen, or we are looking for
Yes.
things.
but what you were saying about point of view, right?
Experience.
But what you were saying
Hmm.
about point of view and how you see it as Paul
Yes.
Atreides, to me, it's too like objective almost, because you have so many like there's a lot of setting up going on. It's not just him and Atreides' house being set up, but like Harkonnen's being set up,
It's like
and then
it's like
the
watching
other
a
Bene
guy.
Gesserit is
Yeah.
also. Sorry, go ahead.
It's like watching a guy make a very, constructed diorama. There is so much of an over the top
Overview,
viewpoint.
effect that he's
Yeah.
trying to give
And
you.
this is
Yeah.
I don't know how I suppose this will be insulting for a lot of people, but I'll invoke this comparison. I thought Dune Part 1 reminded me a little bit of Phantom Menace in terms of the
Oh, come on.
slightly
come
no
on.
in terms of just it is very political intrigue, talking like that.
Yeah,
it's
but
a beginnings kind of movie. You do feel a beginnings kind of vibe to it, where people are
Yeah.
very young
Yeah.
in their like feeling, and like it's very nascent stage of like people's characters. Like where you have a like say like we are talking. Okay, I'm gonna bring Lord of the Rings again.
No, cool.
In Fellowship, there's where in the beginning of the movie you actually have very innocent characters. Like
Yeah.
even though, like some might not be innocent, like Saruman.
Hmm.
Same way here you have Harkonnens. You know that they're bad. They're like
Yeah.
like that kind of thing bad.
Yeah,
And,
they are not hiding the fact that they're bad.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and that's something that's sold in a better way after you set up the play. Like I saw an interview where he was like, I've set up the sandbox, now you get to play in it, right? He's
Yeah.
setting up the sandbox in the first one, and the first one's sandbox that we are not aware of, we are only feeling it, but that's done in a calculated way, is that they're not revealing too much about the characters all
Yes.
at once.
Mhm.
Because they
Yeah.
want to lead somewhere with this, and
Of course.
they're giving us so much information and packing it in just because of pacing sake.
Since you brought in Lord of the Rings, Fellowship, if you remember, when the innocent hobbits were being introduced, this is a
Yes.
spoiler for Fellowship. It's been out for 24 years. Just saying.
Oh my
So,
God, don't give me existential dread now.
Yeah, believe me, I know. So my point being, if you remember Fellowship, all the hobbits section, the Shire section, basically, when I watched Fellowship, I was enjoying it, but I wasn't exactly getting interested. I knew that something was going to happen because Gandalf was coming, all that stuff is going on. You saw Saruman somewhat in the beginning and all that. But my interest immediately ratcheted up when the four hobbits went to the inn and they met
Three.
Strider, and when Strider is finally introduced,
Yes.
that's when I realized that there is something going on. And it's the hint of the world without explicitly telling you what the world is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Dune Part 1's big problem for me was I never got that character to latch on to.
Same.
Right.
Which can pull me through, because Paul wasn't that
Which
character.
could have been
Paul was
which
supposed
could have
to
been
be.
Dr. Liet-Kynes. Which could have been that character.
Yes. Yeah.
Somewhat,
well, no,
yes.
It was the
Like,
proxy was
she
the proxy
could have
was
been-
Jason Momoa, right? Like
Or
He-
Tom
Yeah,
Jason
I
Snyder
mean-
or something.
Jason
Tom
Momoa is
Snyder.
supposed to be
Snyder.
the most Han Solo-y character, I guess. You want to
Yeah.
call him Han Solo-y? No, but even though, I mean, I have a lot of issues with part one, so I won't like dwell on them as such. But
Well,
my
okay, so this, I mean, this all leads up to part two.
yeah,
Exactly what Prithvish was saying about kinds. Yeah, go on.
Hmm.
Like that he, I mean,
Also,
he in the movie.
I read somewhere, I read somewhere, Chani's full name is Chani Kynes. So is this somewhat related to Dr. Lear Kynes? I mean,
who is Dr.
I
Liet
don't
Kynes? Why am
remember.
I? Oh, is that the dude who is the?
That woman,
The
that lady who in
ecologist.
Ah,
yes,
okay, okay, okay.
ecologist.
Yeah, yeah.
Ecologist.
Oh, yeah. She is one of the more interesting characters in that. Yes,
Yes,
she is
yeah,
one
and
of the
Yeah.
she
more
was the
interesting
most
characters.
underused because I mean,
Yeah.
even in the book actually,
Also,
Kynes as a
also
character is
it's
not used
so
that well.
Okay.
also it's so
You know,
strange. They just vanished Thufir Hawat from this part
Yeah.
out
you
of
know,
That too,
nowhere.
he
Well,
mentioned no
here's
because
that
his story was
there
not
was one of
really
his
going
he
anywhere.
may I was reading it
here's
was
the
one of the
thing.
characters he had
Hmm.
to omit from
Yeah.
this because there's just whatever. You were saying, I mean,
You
please.
Hmm.
Hemant, when I read Dune, like the first section of it all, when he's in Caladan and then he's going to Arrakis, when I was reading it, I was almost feeling like the Lord of the Rings Fellowship thing. I'm interested, but I'm still not getting hooked.
Hmm.
The section where I actually got hooked was, and this was because of Herbert's prose, is
Hmm.
because where Paul finally sees the sandworm.
Yeah.
Because how Herbert describes it was insane.
Okay.
Like that was so well written.
2
Hmm.
pages.
And yeah, it's
Wow.
insane how well it was written. And a similar reaction happened to me when I saw Lynch's version, because Lynch's version
Yes.
got almost that exact feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there was a
But the first
conversation.
sandworm, you're
There's a
saying, when he sees.
Yeah, the
internal
first
dialogue
sandworm.
that happens between
Yeah, yeah,
Paul and well, what he thinks is Shia LaBeouf,
yeah.
and and that is something that's like it's supposed to be more satisfying, but they really can't show all that in the tone that Denny had set up.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. That's
He
what
has
I
a
meant
very
by
like like grounded setup. It's not really mystical.
accessible.
Yeah,
But in the way to make it accessible, I felt that he flattened it.
yeah,
Because Dune at the end of
That
the day
was
is
my
very
yeah.
weird.
yeah,
Dune at the end of the day is very weird.
Hmm.
yeah.
As in the
You
Dune
can't
the book, you mean, not the
yeah, the
Yes,
source
and
material is
yes.
and
very
Lynch's
weird.
version, which is weird for both
Oh
the
yeah.
good reasons and very
And
bad reasons also.
It was a nightmare.
But I think that's a
And
good
Austin
good
Butler.
like setup, I feel, for our discussion about Dune Part 2. And I think
Yeah.
we've kind of made it clear that me and Amartya, very much not fans of Part 1, went in fairly skeptical of Part 2.
Oh yeah.
And
Very much.
Prithvish and Hemant went in fairly optimistic, I think, of Part 2.
Well,
Question mark?
yeah, I mean, I think I was
No?
again tarnished by all the views that I'd read about this online. Honestly, I really should
Okay.
have.
Oh, you read
I
before
have
you
not
watched?
done this for like 2 years, and then I suddenly went back into Letterboxd and all this
Oh.
social media, and I
Okay.
ruined
Yeah,
my brain. I was like, oh my god,
Letterbox actually removed all the reviews, and they
yeah,
had
yeah,
some previews. They also had their ratings as well,
yeah,
and they
Okay.
suddenly removed all the reviews and ratings,
yeah.
and suddenly it was 4.6 on Letterbox.
I mean, it's
Earlier it
still
was like
hanging on there.
4.
It was still
And
4.2, by the way. It was
initially
Yeah. Yeah.
it was 3.9 or 4, as same
Okay.
as Dune Part 1. So I was like,
I
okay, this
mean,
is going good.
like
And
listen,
now it's
I ended up liking the movie, but that graph will come down surely.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean it's
if
supposed
you
to.
no,
really think about the
I mean,
movie,
it never did for Taylor Swift, and it's not gonna do for
are you
Dune 2
talking
as
about? Are
well.
you comparing Dune with Eras?
Yes, he
Yes.
is. Yes, he is.
He also Prithvish also has a very
You did
interesting
not hear
other
the Chandni Chowk
connection.
to China
Arey,
comparison with
arey,
this.
yaar, we hold it
Yes,
on,
yes.
yaar. Come on, Prithvish, let's start Dune Part 2 with that, and then we will talk
Yes.
about this.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, there is a
Okay, I want to
very
do one
weird.
last thing about the
Huh.
Dune one.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
really liked how they had set up in the book. They really hit home the fact that it's 10,000 AD, right?
Yes,
Or
yes.
CE.
10,191 AD, yeah.
191 yeah. And
Yeah.
they have all this like the progress of population, like how much scale we think about, like whenever we think about the future or anything like that, we think Star Wars because it's like a very trillions of people scale. But in this, like the fact that Gurney Alex says, "Oh, you have 200 people. Oh, you can take the whole planet."
Yeah.
Your brain can't really comprehend that scale. Where like, how is it that like just 200 people will be able to take up the entire planet? Because is it that medieval, or is it that like are they that futuristic with their technology? And it is both. It is that
I mean, they have
both.
atom bombs, no? So
yeah.
No, it's like the future. It's like post-humanism gone so far down the drain that they have to circle back to pre-future basically. at
Mm.
this
Yeah,
point.
exactly. Yeah. So and this is like it went back to here. It's feudalistic, where you
Yes,
have
exactly.
you have a medieval imperium, which is having a hold on all the resources that
Yep.
this almost Middle Eastern planet has.
Almost.
Almost nahi, sir. Middle Eastern.
Middle
ही है.
Eastern.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so that is what I liked about the first movie, is that they set up the whole thing of like, oh, how much did this cost them? How much is this trip all the way
Yeah.
down here cost them a lot, and just these formalities and this archetype that they've created for themselves is something that is explain the scale of what's going on. Which also leads up to my biggest disappointment in the second movie, is that why did he come with his entire army? Who comes with the entire army right there? Like, why did he come all the way there? First off, why didn't he just send someone? Like, why couldn't this have been an email?
Wasn't there the whole thing where he?
I know the email existed there. I think you needed a canister. You needed to.
No, I thought that it was that he called. There is some message
He
thing,
called
right?
them, right? He
calls them
Yes.
for. He challenges the emperor. That's why all of
Challenges
them
the
come.
empire. Yeah,
No, but
he
वो
challenges the
तो but I feel they go only because that witch lady Charlotte Rampling is basically
Reverend Mother. Let's not
हाँ.
call Charlotte Ramping all the time. Reverend Mother.
Charlotte
So
Rampling
Reverend
is
Mother,
pretty
even for
amazing.
Rebecca Ferguson was also a Reverend
हाँ, she
Mother.
becomes
Yeah,
yeah.
Rebecca
it's the
Ferguson
other
is the
one.
Reverend Mother who is high. High Reverend Mother. That is different.
No, they are both Reverend Mothers for different sieges, right? So
Different situations.
Yeah, different situations. Anyway, so anyone who is already not confused by what we are talking about.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. So we've been.
Am I gonna
going by-
give the Bollywood connection?
Yes,
Am I gonna
please
give
do
the Bollywood
first.
connection?
First,
Because I'm
we,
right
we
now.
need to yes.
I've opened my.
Yes,
I've
yes.
opened my Wikipedia.
Yeah. So this is
apparently turns out.
only trivia you will get in
Yes,
this
here,
space.
yes.
Yeah, exclusive. This is yes.
The
Go ahead,
unique
Prithvish.
selling point of this podcast.
Yeah,
The unique selling point of this podcast.
Yeah.
So apparently Dune Part 2 has a Bollywood connection. That the Atreides who wasn't drugged at the battlefield with Fade Rotha.
Austin Butler. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that guy apparently was in the very
Famous.
famous cult Bollywood film Chandni Chowk
Classic.
China,
Oh,
where he
man.
played Deepika's father.
Oh,
Trained
man.
Akshay
Twin
Kumar.
Deepika's father.
And
Twin
Twin
Deepika's.
Twin
Let's not
Deepika's
yeah.
father.
My
Yeah.
God.
And Aaj Phatte Chaklan they was playing in the background. While
Well, now we have
Akshay
validated
was
our
just
Entire
entire
podcast ka existence.
What is the guy's name, Prithvish? We have to honor
Roger Yuan. Apparently,
Okay.
Roger Yuan. Apparently, so this guy is a martial artist and a stunt coordinator. So
Okay.
apparently, he has worked in a lot of films where we haven't noticed him that properly. He was in John Wick
Sure.
3, Mulan,
Okay.
Venom, and
I
all.
remember
Skyfall.
some
He
John
even
Wick
won
videos, yeah.
he even won an award for Skyfall as well.
Oh,
So
wow, So big
yeah,
guy, we just
like-
noticed the Chandni Chowk connection.
Yes.
yeah,
course we did.
I mean,
Because we are quid.
I remember
Because we
him.
are quid.
Because I remember that guy's face so properly. Like Akshay Kumar used to call him chili chicken or some chow mein or something like that.
Of course
So-
he did.
Of
Of
course.
course he did.
Yeah.
God.
This is Nikhil
So,
Advani's
yeah.
whole doing by himself, okay? So we do not take this is all in quotation marks for whatever we've said
We don't
in
take
terms
any
of references.
responsibility for what Nikhil Advani did.
Yes. So okay, anyways, after this we can now dive into the sandpit of, I suppose, Dune Part 2.
You dive in.
Yes, it's called swimming.
I don't believe you. In the shadows of Arrakis lie many secrets. But the darkest of them all may remain. The end of House Atreides.
Your father didn't believe in revenge.
What if Paul Atreides were still alive?
Have you ever had a dream about your first ride?
Don't try to impress anyone.
Or if you have
I
other
hate sand. They get everywhere. I had to bring this. I had to bring this up. I'm sorry.
This is the
It
other
was right
Polytrades
there.
in another
Yes,
far,
yes.
far
Yes.
away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to
But
bring this up.
yeah, so this one begins straight after part one, understandably so, with very little actually recap, right? Like there's not much
Yeah.
of like a scroll feeling to it where it's like ye hua
And
tha,
as
like
But there
Villeneuve
was a
also-
scroll. But
so
there is
yeah,
kind of
also
a scroll.
mentioned-
when
There is kind of a scroll in
No,
it.
no. There was
Well, only
no.
in
I think
whose part?
Irulan, Princess
No, it
Irulan
was
just
the-
mentioned.
Yeah, no,
Just
it was the
mentioned.
whole like the voiceover that the
Yeah. It's a
Also-
dictaphone.
oh my
also Villeneuve-
god,
that
that
one
really
was-
Also,
yeah.
Villeneuve took a lot of Lynch influences, I think, in part 2 more than part 1, because Irulan also starts with her monologue in Dune, Lynch's Dune, like
Yeah.
in part
Okay.
2.
She does.
Yeah.
She
I mean,
does,
I
yeah.
She
only
does.
know the
No,
ear
but
wala
li- no,
reference.
but
Apart
hold-
from that, I
no,
don't
but
know
hold on.
anything.
No, but Irulan basically, I don't
Irulan,
want
for
to
clarification, is the Florence Pugh
is played by
character.
Florence Pugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Irulan basically opens the chapter with a dictaphone like thingy.
Oh
Dictaphone
yeah,
like
every
there is.
chapter.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
Every
There is a
chapter, every
recap.
chapter.
I
Every
forgot.
chapter.
Yeah, there is
Yeah,
a
so
recap.
Every chapter there is a recap. Yeah.
Well, this is supposed to be like it is supposed to be an epitaph or what is
Yeah,
it?
this is supposed to be Irulan writing the entire story of
Oh,
Paul
I thought she
Atreides
was
from-
just
after
like, I thought it
everything
was
has
just like
happened.
FM. Whatever.
No.
Like, I was like, it was just
hello,
like,
hello, buddies.
Wow.
Good morning, Imperium.
because it's Emperor, right? So she's like,
Good morning.
ये सब आजकल की
India."
खबर में हुआ है at times. So yes. Anyway, she is
everybody.
writing it
Happy
after, so it's
good-
fine.
This is
That
Irulan
sounds
speaking.
that sounds
This
much
is
more
Irulan
viable.
coming from Empire Padishah the Fourth's court.
Yeah.
Now the
I was
news
about to
of
say-
the day.
I was about to say good morning, Arakin, or whatever from the
Good morning, Arakin.
Lage Raho na my reference. Anyways, go ahead.
Wow.
You were saying, Amartya,
Yeah, but
about the epitaphs, right? I think whatever she's
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah,
So,
Okay.
well, yeah.
So
So,
basic-
this is all a retelling of what
Huh.
has
Mhm.
happened as the epic, the myth of Paul
The
Atreides.
myth of Paul Atreides, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically.
And I think her
Mhm.
purpose largely is what does this mean character? It's like she will ask something and she will prompt the other
Yeah.
character to tell you information about the world.
Am
of
I
Dune
am I
too.
gonna
Because
drop another
she's a
Bollywood
middle, right?
reference?
She's a politician
Okay.
from Berry Gesserit.
Yeah,
Since
yeah.
she's learning, so you sort of, it becomes a good, easy way of doing
Yeah.
the
It's
world
an easy
building,
access to
which-
what the
Huh.
Bene
She-
Gesserit's
so
role
in
is.
in Dune, the straight man is of course Paul, like because
Yeah.
he's
Mhm.
he's a titular character.
Hmm.
Then you have your then in this sense we are observing his rise, his meteoric rise.
Mhm.
It's not really in his like subjective view or at all times.
Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
in the first one, it was his subjective view parallelly happening while we are getting this overarching narrative. of
Overarching
going
world
on around
development,
him.
yes.
And we are already told the truth. There is no tension that's being created really.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all
Hmm.
inevitable. So after here, nothing's, you're in the dark. You don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen is what they're trying
You're
to say
basically
to you.
lost in the sand. You're
Sand,
basically
yeah.
lost in the sand,
Yeah.
and like the Fremens, you are discovering, like Paul,
Yeah.
you're discovering the
discovering
culture, and
everything.
through that,
And that's
yeah.
why the straight man here has to be someone who can understand the overall view of everything and also been getting the information.
Oh, so
Because
okay,
Hmm.
you're
Paul-
saying the straight woman here is this
Yeah, he's
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh,
She's
Okay,
the
okay.
She's the
exposition.
one who is
She's
getting
exposition,
information.
basically.
She's
Yeah,
the
she's
she's what you
exposition.
say about the first Dune, where it's basically all the information gathering is almost like being taken and dumped. I feel otherwise the moral center is actually Zendaya, right? Of course, which is
Yeah, the moral center is
Yeah, moral
definitely-
center is her. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Nah.
yeah. And
but yes,
they don't really sell that to you until halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Which is
Because,
good. Which is good.
Which
you
is
need that.
actually, yeah, I really like
Yeah.
that about the movie. movie.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't
Prithvish,
really
what is your Bollywood reference now
Oh
for
God,
Florence
another
Pugh?
connection. Yes.
this.
It's
He is
What's the connection?
it's going to be very silly. No. There is this connection. I was
I
just
mean, you
gonna
are
draw a
saying like the
comparison.
Chandni Chowk connection was very smart. Yes, silly tha
That
wo
was smart. I was just gonna say she's the Tripti Dimpi of this film.
Oh God, no.
Oh
Oh
wow,
my
not
God,
to
dude.
that, yeah. Oh my God, but
Dude,
that
that's
makes sense considering you already invoked animal in another
Yes.
moment. So
yeah.
yes.
Indie industry.
Yes.
If Zendia is Zendia,
Jhandeya,
is the
Jhandeya, Jhandeya.
is the Deepika Padukone, then Alia Bhatt is Florence Pugh.
It's Jhandeya.
Jhandeya.
But no, I think where to begin with this film, I think is basically we can get initial impressions and then sort of dive into specifics. I think
Yes.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can begin with Amartya. You can start, and then we can go to
Okay, so
whoever I'm seeing in order here. I'll basically say like
yeah,
that. Hmm.
okay, so like so far along our discussion, I think it's pretty clear that I was quite skeptical of the second part. Like I like the book, I like Villeneuve, but I was quite disappointed with the first part because I felt that as a story, it was lacking quite a bit. So initial impression, I was like, wait, this movie, for a blockbuster, this movie is quite dark, which I genuinely admired.
Yeah.
I also admire the fact that as much as Denny is trying to make Dune accessible, he doesn't, skimper the entire point of the story.
Yeah.
Which is why whatever themes he's actually tackling, the themes he's tackling are very big themes.
Yeah.
And the themes he's tackling, he's basically subverting the hero's journey ka narrative.
Yeah.
He's basically telling you that this is a narrative. It's all what Dune is also telling you that whatever things we hold as gospel are actually narratives which had been built on us by centuries ago. So he's both commenting on the hero's journey and is both commenting on the foundational aspect of religion itself.
Yeah.
Which I felt was okay. For a fact that a science fiction movie is answering this question, it basically fulfills the concept of what sci-fi actually is. Asking questions to the audience about the present by invoking a futuristic society. So it's basically fulfilling the basic tenet of sci-fi. You did the job. Great. So that's why I liked it a lot.
Did you make it fun?
Yeah.
Could you make it fun? It is fun, I think. Like in some of the action sequences, I think were fantastic. So,
Oh, yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
Hemant, you can go, then Prithvish, then I'll go.
I found the movie very enjoyable, and it's when I look at both movies like as part one, part two, they really flow really well into each other. I'm pretty sure in the future I'm going to watch like part one and part two back to back. There'll be one boring day, rainy day. I'll be like, okay, well, it's on Max. It's gonna be on Max. You have to. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
I guess.
So-
Yeah.
and then I'll be able to like watch everything together and then get the experience that I mean, at least it's not intended to have that experience, but when you see a story flow continuously, be able to see how it's building on what it already has told. So I like I mean I like Amartya said, like the large questions that it's really answering. You right, I mean, for me it was all in the background, like when I see the movie and how it's paced and everything, any amount of time spent on an emotion or any kind of line or any kind of I guess not emotion, I would say a theme that is being they're trying to like push on me. Is really always in the background, because the movie is paced in such a way that you are getting more information and in a thematic, like a scene way, in a scenic action way, like more like an action movie
rather than characters stopping by and telling you what the theme actually
exactly
is.
yeah. It's not a Nolan movie.
Yeah.
It's
Ouch.
it's not
That
someone
will hurt.
hey, this
That
is
will
smart,
hurt.
like just pay attention to this.
This will
So
hurt
this
to a
actually,
lot
I
of
wouldn't
people.
say Denny is not victim too. He has done this before too. Like
Yeah, yeah.
even in Arrival, you have in the middle, the story stops to like tell you like, hey, this is going on,
Yep.
and which is actually it's a good tool, but it's someone who's informed in what they have. You need to understand the cards you have to, before you play them, right? Like so,
Yeah, exactly.
he knew that he had like his screenwriting skills are really showing, being showcased, and how much he loves Dune. He's like that. There was like this whole thing of like Nolan and these guys had a dinner with WB executives, and there was like this guy will never be a good poker player because he immediately let everyone know that he wants to do Dune. When someone said Dune, he was like, oh what? Like this is someone else has to doing Dune right now. I want to do I want to direct Dune like forever, and that's something that like really it really shines through because it's say again back to Peter Jackson and a lot of the things. Love it so much, you should understand what the pitfalls of that thing is. I
Yes,
actually
exactly.
like there's going to be another like Nickelodeon reference. Last Airbender. Have you seen the Netflix show?
No, I haven't.
I have seen 2 episodes. It's horse shit.
Really?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It looks bad.
This is okay. I'm seeing this a lot. I actually want to defend the show.
But I thought it
made
was
a lot
supposed to be
of people which are
better than the. I mean, well, better than M Night Shyamalan.
the
Better
movie.
than
I mean, yeah, let's
Shyamalan?
not compare it to any
Sure.
of the
That's
movies.
sure. Okay. Okay.
I'm just going to look at like just the source material, like, and if you are knowing that if you know the source material well enough, you know the pitfalls of it.
Okay.
Dune
But
has
again,
pitfalls.
yeah, but again, Hemant, it's like if you are wow. Okay, I'm not going to argue about
I'm going
Last
to be
Airbender
meta
in
and
Autumn
say,
Dune. Yeah,
are
yeah,
we
yeah.
treating the Dune source material as a messiah?
Oh my God. Oh, you're saying, you're vouching for changes. You're vouching for adaptation changes, as in you're saying that it's helpful to not treat the source material as Bible.
Hindrala and Varun had mentioned before, like in the live stream and all, it's transliteration versus translation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is somewhat of a translation rather than a transliteration.
As if those two egos aren't big enough. Chalo.
Varun will listen to this, because he's not going to watch Dune Part 2. He's going to listen to us talk about it. He's missing out on it. But anyways, great points. I think there in the I mean, I'm always do whatever's best for the movie bit rather than
exactly.
rather than try to ram in everything. We've seen that happen in smaller movies, even something like White Tiger. White Tiger, yeah.
White Tiger,
Ramin
yeah. Arvind
Barani,
Adhikar, right?
where he literally slapped on all the pros as a narration in that, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Anyways,
well, I guess they couldn't take that risk, right? It's too small a book. This is too big a book. Like it's a completely different issue.
Yeah, no, but in this, I can
expand on something that's.
I mean, if you were going to make it too literal, Dhruv, if you were going to make it too literal and cram everything, you would land up with like the sci-fi miniseries, which is not good at all because
have
lower budget.
Foundation? Have you seen that horseshit TV show?
Yeah, the first season was extremely bad. I have no idea what the hell they were thinking. Yeah.
So clearly, this is all leading up to the fact that we all like Dune Part 2 quite a bit in terms of how it's managed to translate a lot of the things here. So, Prithwish, what were your initial thoughts on the film?
Okay, so to be very honest, I am being an admirer of first part. I kind of when I watched first part or when I had this rewatch.
You watched the first part in the cinema or the? I'm asking this question solely because the whole cinema and TV wala or laptop wala debate happened last time in our.
दो बार देखा, दो बार ही IMAX में. First time also in IMAX, also अभी re-release हुआ था वो भी IMAX में. So
संजीत represent. संजीत को कोई represent कर रहा है यहाँ पे.
Sanjeev feels validated now.
Denny भाई आज बहुत खुश हुआ.
Dennis
Denny. तो French. हाँ.
French.
तो whenever. So even when I had the recent rewatch of Dune theaters में, so I उस time पे like when did it release? 2021 में. Now it's 2024. बीच में उतना time नहीं मिला था. Like I didn't had the time to rewatch or revisit even when the trailers got released. हाँ. So first part when I rewatched it even when like keeping the two separate cases when I watched it back in 2021 and when I watched it in 2024. In both the cases, I knew that this is going to be a build-up.
Okay.
I sensed it. somehow
Hmm.
the storytelling, the entire direction,
Hmm.
how it was being so explanatory on your face,
Hmm.
I sensed it that it was going to be some kind of world building,
Hmm.
which kind of appealed to me.
Sure.
Which kind of
Hmm.
appealed to me. It had some kind of this poeticism,
Okay.
which kind of appealed to me,
Okay.
which actually worked for me for part one,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and which I found more entertaining.
Sure.
But what I missed in Dune Part 2, apart from the spectacular visuals and the
Mm-hmm.
earth-shattering sound design,
Hmm.
is some kind of the emotional resonance which I was kind of missing. I think Amartya is going to be very pissed off with
So
me.
you missed that in part two, and you had that in part one. You're saying
I
that?
yeah yeah
Okay,
I had that
interesting.
in part one
Sure.
because the
Hmm.
father-son relationship or
Hmm.
Okay, yeah,
the
the Paul
relationship
Atreides one
between
with. Hmm.
Gurney, Paul, the relationship Paul had with his family members,
Sure.
or even the discussions or the conversation uh,
Hmm.
Leto, Duke, and Lady Jessica had, Oscar Isaac and Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah.
I was missing those kind of
Sure.
sequences, which
Got it.
actually worked for me in Dune Part One. But in Dune
Yeah.
Part Two, I think it was just action, action, and action. It actually worked for me, which also did for John Wick Chapter 4 as well.
Sure.
Mhm.
John Wick
Got
Chapter
it.
4 maybe. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't looking out for some kind of like some very conversational centric or something. It
Sure.
had action, it promised on action, and it delivered. Same
Sure.
for
Hmm.
Dune Part 2 as well. It
Okay.
Denis said that he was going to focus more on the technical side of it.
Hmm.
He was going to focus more on the sound designing more than the background score. I think background score had more focus on part one than sound design did in part two.
Hmm.
But I think, yeah, obviously the technical prowess was on point in part
Yeah.
two. But then again, I think because of too much focus on Chani and Paul Atreides, which was supposed to be a very romantic plotline, but
Hmm.
which did not kind of bloom. I mean,
Okay.
there was a sequence when in the initial part when he was trying to be trying or when he was on the process of becoming a Fremen.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uस time पे there was a plot that was coming up between Chani and Paul Atreides, which
Hmm.
somehow got diluted,
Sure.
and
Okay.
I still can't help it but bring up a name of a Bollywood movie which I'm not gonna name,
Bring. There's no
but
problem.
That's
Ab to, but you
okay,
made the
no,
Squid
no,
Memory
Okay, it's
reference, na?
Squid.
Amartya,
At this
Amartya,
point, my brain is going to explode anyway. It's Squid. Chalo, chalo.
Say, it's
it's
fine.
okay.
Kagas ke
If
is
I
it that? Okay, sir,
I thought
no, no, no,
you were
not
going
Kagas
to
ke
the
Phool.
supreme good
You are
direction.
going
I was
way too
going
far.
to Drona.
Way
It's a
too
कोई
far.
Drona का
poeticism.
reference तो नहीं है because it's all sand
नहीं,
there
oh, अच्छा,
also.
Hemant wasn't there when I mentioned that the fight sequence between Fade Rotha and Paul Atreides. But
Yes, yes.
anyways, if
Yes.
I bring that movie's reference only in
Hmm.
both of the movies, somehow the core plot seems to fade away. Achha, just for reference, Hemant, we are talking about
Okay.
Animal.
Animal.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the core plot kind of fades away,
Sure.
I'm
and
looking
at
for a
the end
way
of
to
the
all
day,
to
it just
punch.
But this good. No, I didn't
Cut
expect
it
this
from
to
your
actually come
security
up. But
deposit. Just remember
uh,
that. Sorry, go
Nini,
on.
but
Yes.
no, that's very interesting, and I mean, I'm totally
I
on the
mean,
other.
yeah,
I was about to say I'm totally on the other side of this, considering I don't like part one, and
yeah,
I think part two
hmm,
actually. What I think appeals to me most about part two is, especially in the Fremen section, it manages to convey a lot of information through the
yeah.
characters and through its
Hmm.
movement and action scenes and everything. And I still think the
But
film drops in momentum entirely for me as soon as it shifts to the Harkonnen.
I will, yeah, I will also say
So,
this because
hmm,
since I like part two as much as part one, I
hmm,
mean, I wouldn't say as much as part one, but I would keep it thoda sa better than part one. I would say
okay,
I really love part one,
hmm,
but part two is on another level. Maybe
hmm,
because of the theatrical experience or whatever Denny
okay,
promised he delivered on the
hmm,
big screen.
Hmm.
Maybe if I when I'll watch it on small screen, maybe my opinions will change. But for now, I
hmm,
think the technical prowess or the technical aspects had more spotlight this time than the
sure,
storytelling aspect.
okay,
Yeah, and also I don't I mean I don't know, it's kind of hard to believe kind of thing for me because all the side characters they kind of got like they really got sidelined. They didn't have a lot of exposure. As I
Okay.
mentioned, like Emperor was there, Princess Irulan was there.
And
I
there's a
mean,
lot
if
of
he's
plot
planning
You
also
mean
to,
going on,
Emperor
right?
huh,
Walken?
I mean, if he's
Emperor
planning
Walken.
to,
Emperor Walken. It's Walken basically. It's
Yeah,
Walken. It is
yeah,
Walken
it's
shit.
walking. Yeah. No, but it's very
I
interesting
mean,
because,
if,
no, but Prithvish,
yeah,
I mean, I'm
if
just saying
there,
that it's a interesting perspective because I had
hmm,
legitimately, I'm saying the opposite experience to you did.
Yeah,
So I think
because we
that's
both
why,
vehemently
yeah.
disagree on what you are saying, but okay.
But I think
Hey,
it's an interesting
I mean, I
perspective to
don't
just
completely
have.
I
disagree.
knew it.
Like,
I knew it.
Hmm,
That's why I had to say this, because I kind
No,
of,
but
I'm not defending part one or anything,
no,
hmm,
but
but I
here's the
no,
like,
but I
thing.
but
get it. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
a
I liked
sensibility
part
that
one
can
for
be
what it
catered to. Like,
was.
yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
I
liked
think,
part one for what it was.
Hmm.
yeah, like, I
Yeah, yeah.
mean, if part one was, in fact, 30 minutes longer, I would have
Mm.
loved it.
30
I
minutes longer.
longer, yeah, I wanted it to be longer.
My
I,
God.
I
I
feel like,
Yeah,
to,
I just didn't like with the point where it ended, the part one ended, just
yeah, I
randomly
mean,
kills
that's
one of
in,
the
I mean,
Fremen
that
in
would
a
have
battle.
happened anyway, right? Like
It
that's
would have
Yeah,
been
exactly.
something
That's what I was
as,
it
saying
wasn't
also. Ki
that
that's how the
set
book
up.
ended
That
also,
was
kind of.
supposed to be the whole setup that he has to become part of them by, doing
yeah,
something
yeah.
horrible, like the
Also, I
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like
blood
if you
has
look at how
to,
much he had
whatever.
to work with, right, in the original story, like
Hmm.
you can do like book one and book two was first movie. Only like book three was like, and that too, it's not even that much, like some 250, 300 maybe pages.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and like here and there, and he like that it was all stretched out, and he added in a lot of like elements of like like Messiah and everything. He had to do it. It was forceful, is because there's a lot of useless stuff there, and if you
Hmm.
have so many character movements,
Mm.
you're going to lose out on all the story points and all
Hmm.
the story beats.
Hmm.
Like
Mm.
it's very difficult to have that many character movements. Like even in like again fucking Lord of the Rings again. So extended edition. If you look at the
I see.
extended,
Oh,
You
yeah.
said it. No, no. You like when people were making the comparison when part one came, I was like, are they nuts? Because I love Lord of the Rings, right? So I was like, and I
yeah,
have a great emotional reaction when I watch those films,
is there
and
anyone
because
who
I had,
hates Lord of the Rings?
no
Is
one,
there
no
anyone
one in
who
the
hates
I
Lord of
don't
world,
the
think so.
Rings?
I don't think
except
anybody
maybe
hates
for
the
my wife.
movies.
I think my
I
wife
don't think
hates
so.
it all because I talk about it so much.
Okay.
Like I
No,
think
no, but
it's
That's a
basically
you
that.
problem.
no, I think
That's a you problem.
after
Yeah,
the second watch, I probably get the Lord of the Rings comparison this time. But like when I watched the first one, because I had such a flat experience while watching it, I
Mm.
was like,
yeah.
I don't see these two worlds to me like. Even and someone wrote a really great review on Letterboxd. I was reading comparing Tolkien with Herbert. I think both of them were writing it. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
how their writing styles are so
I mean,
different,
they are
and
very
that's why they
different also. I
oh
mean, they are
diametrically
very
opposite
different
that
They
they
are
also.
were.
Yeah.
thematically
Hmm.
and morally
Yeah.
very different people because this is the whole. I told this about this in Dune Part One. The
Hmm.
whole point of Tolkien, if you read his letters, okay, there is like
Hmm.
this free audiobook for the Silmarillion
Hmm.
on, okay, this is like very nerdy. You go to
It's fine.
audiobooks on
Yeah,
Spotify, there's a
nerdiness
free
is allowed
audiobook
here.
on
So
free.
yeah,
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 so
yeah.
there is a free audiobook where you actually have like there's Andy Serkis reading the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien explaining his thesis for Lord of the Rings, the world, and how he actually came to
Okay.
make it, and his need to make it, and why it was
Hmm.
for him important to make it, is that he wanted to create a myth for the England that he loves,
Sure.
because
Yes.
England on its own did not really have a mythology. Like
Hmm.
Mm.
right now, we are right now creating the United States mythology because of movies, because
Hmm.
where that's
Mm.
where Hollywood comes from, and it's
Hmm.
already been created by old Hollywood era, 1950s,
Of course. Hmm.
1970s,
Mm.
a little bit,
Hmm.
and all that mythology was not created for England ever, and
Hmm.
that's what he wanted to create it. But he wanted to get away from allegory as much as possible. He hated being contemporary,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
if you are
he
contemporary,
hated comparing, he hated questioning or comparing his story with the present. Like he hated
Present.
the
yes.
Okay.
basic tenet
Huh,
of
but
sci-fi. He
but
wanted to be
that but
complete fantasy.
got it.
That's
I
the
mean,
whole
but
Yeah,
point.
even
and it
Lord
is
of the
not
Rings,
the fantasy was
anyways.
supposed to be a world. It was supposed to be the
Yes,
fantasy
exactly.
part was supposed to be something different than what we have, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
also
like
familiar to us based on their own
No, no.
mythology, and that
The
yeah,
was
the
yeah.
review I
an
was
English
reading,
mythology.
sort of did this only, where they was positioned him very much as almost like a Hollywood classic
Yes.
director
Mm-hmm.
compared to your Villeneuve's Dune, which is almost like an art house compared to that, like like the art, not art house in the artsy sense, but in the sort of grounded sense. Like it's like
Yes.
everything is actually because. someone was saying that this is, and I was reading something that he said that this is not a science fiction book. This is
Yeah.
essentially about us right now,
Political.
right? So
Yeah,
I
it's a
think,
political
and
book.
that's what strikes
think
the
about,
most, I feel.
think about this
So,
for a, think
hmm,
about this for a second. It's like, okay, I'm bringing in Star Wars here
hmm.
because it's necessary. Number one,
Which
because it
one? There's a lot
borrows
of Star
liberally.
Wars.
Yeah, there's
Original
two.
trilogy. Original
Okay.
trilogy.
Okay, yeah.
It borrows liberally from Dune. Liberally,
Yep.
I'm being very
Yes,
generous.
yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it borrows quite a bit from Dune. If we look at it, Star Wars is kind of fantasy, right? Because Star Wars is, at the end of the day, when it begins, it always says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far
Yes.
away.
Hmm.
It's already.
Yep.
Okay, and just by that he has
Wow.
gone to light
What a
speed. Yeah,
what a
Amartya
Amartya,
suddenly
I
gone
can't
to
hear
light
anybody.
speed.
yeah, you got you froze for a
You
second.
had an
Anyways.
Instagram, there's like very like nice
My
Fujifilm kind
internet
of
connection
pictures.
is
You turn
unstable
into
for
that.
some reason.
Even
Hold on.
Prithwish's went off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe strange.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Strange
keep on
only, very
talking.
weird.
This is Star Wars.
Yeah, no.
Suddenly Disney is trying to kill us one by one.
Yes, for some reason, sure. No, but again, it's like the world is different, right? But in Dune, it is very specifically like 10,191 years from Earth. So
Yeah.
it's
Right.
our future, basically.
Also, they pronounce when Zendaya begins talking about Arrakis, she says Irakis almost. I was like, is that like supposed to be like very deliberately said by her in that way, or is it just big a slip?
I mean, to be fair, I don't think it's anyway. It's never supposed to be subtle.
Yeah.
It's not, but like still, this like in the first one, I didn't like get the Irakis thing. Like I would, it's all there, but like you don't get the people saying Arrakis as Irakis, I
And it's
suppose.
like,
So yeah.
I was making a joke. In
Hmm.
the chat. There was one guy on Twitter who is like, "Oh my god, look at this! Dune is commenting on the Iraq war," and I'm like, "He wrote it in 1965, you idiot." But I was also forgetting a very simple thing, that the fact that the United States and all the other developed countries were already looking towards the Middle East for oil. Like the plan was always there.
Yeah.
There was always the political planning and deviousness that they will have to extract oil from the Middle East. That plan was always there.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, yeah, so Herbert and Tolkien are very much different on that ideological point of view anyway. It's like
Yeah.
Tolkien is responding to his world and creating a mythology. Herbert is responding to his world and basically asking questions to you through making a mythology which is very resembling
And
of
Lord of the
our
Rings
own.
is very
Political
much
commentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings very much also has a sort of happier, resolution and
Yeah.
everything, right?
It's
Comparatively,
still quite
100%.
dark though. Yeah. It's
Still,
still quite
like
dark though.
you get a fair amount, but like this is like as bleak and dark as it can get, though. Like
And
in Dune, there
I
is
want to make a very crass joke, but since it's the British, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
If they really wanted to make a mythology, maybe they should not have conquered other nations,
That's
Just
also
stay in your own nation and do
a
something
good
about it.
point.
Why not?
Yeah.
they have
That's,
broken that barrier
Yeah.
I
multiple
think
times. I think it's
let's
fine.
go back 500. Let's have some spice. Go back 500 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
There
Nee,
were,
but
I mean, I think the main thing that I really liked about Herbert's view of his way of storytelling was that he had a goal in mind of creating a dialogue between the reader and how they read
Yeah.
read a hero. Basically they
Yep,
try
yep,
to
yep.
look for heroes. We are always looking for heroes in every story, right?
Yeah.
Like who's the emotional center,
Who's the
who's
the connect?
the emotional
Yes.
core for the story and everything.
Yeah.
But that's something that we are looking for to resolve our own
Yeah.
like I mean our own longingness
It's the
of not having anything good, right?
This is like
So
Hitchcock essentially in like Rear Window
yeah,
or something,
yeah.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's like getting into, it's like understanding your own emotional fantasy and trying to make it.
Yep.
Right, yeah. But he is trying to what Herbert is trying to do is trying to resolve that need by looking at you have plenty you have plenty to look at already instead of having to say hero. The only way I can do this is give you a hero and then make him fall, make him a villain.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So and that's the so if that is what I have to do, I'll do it to
Mhm.
actually make my point. That was
Mhm.
his kind of like
Sure. No, but
rebellion
it
against like
also
literature that was
uh,
there around. Yeah.
yeah.
Which
But I
is
think
why
bolo bolo.
Which is why I
Well,
also think that Dune Part 2, for me at least, feels very
Hmm.
much like very much a standalone, very much more of a complete movie, even though it is continuing very specifically from Part
yes.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is the rise of Paul Atreides, and then there is the fall of Paul Atreides within the span of 2 hours and
Exactly.
41
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
All of it is happening.
The
You are
actually the rise the Dune Part 1 helps us sell. So if this were just one movie, like the Lynch
Hmm.
movie, what
yeah,
it was lacking was that it had too short a runtime to sell you the good side of him. Sorry,
yeah,
to
Bad
that
side. No, I don't
sorry,
think
the
there's
bad
much.
side of him. Sorry, his fall was not convincing enough.
Mhm.
yeah.
That's the reason why it becomes difficult for someone to make it into one movie or like
Yeah, for Star Wars, for if we are doing a Star Wars, if we are doing a Star Wars analogy, we needed more of Anakin Skywalker ka good
yes.
side, because we already know that he's going to become Darth Vader. That's
Yeah.
exactly what
Or
we
we
know.
It
wanted
took him
a
2
good
movies.
version of his good side.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes,
a
yes,
good
not a
version
good
of his
side.
good side, and also what led to him being bad is that
yeah.
was what led to him being bad can be very simple actually,
Yeah.
but even in this, it's kind of very
I mean, it's
simple.
not even actually.
Tell
Uh,
Dave Filoni that. Tell Dave Filoni that. Tell him to stop making 6 seasons of goddamn Star Wars Clone Wars to make us explain that.
No, but
I mean,
I
like,
feel no, I feel just going back to the movie at least. I think because I didn't know much about the story. I mean, see,
yeah,
I knew about the fact that the film and the book sort of will take and the story will take a anti-hero, anti-imperialist turn. I mean, everyone
Mm,
because I think after part one ended, if he continued to do the chosen one story, it would just be a bit daft. I thought because like I mean,
yes,
why would there's nothing else in this to like if he becomes the white savior, he'll be trashed in any case by like the whole of the world. So
He's
why would
still
it?
getting trashed. He's still
yeah.
getting trashed.
But
That's my
that
whole
is a
point.
that's a
I mean, that's the thing. This is again, this is the whole gotcha kind of thing that Marvel has now brainwashed us with.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
we have to say a thing and then make fun of it, like,
वो
and we have to
postmodern हो गया ना
yeah,
essentially
Postmodern
postmodern,
हो गया ना वही ना.
yeah.
This
to
is
be too
whatever.
self-aware, like
Which is
so.
quite telling considering the film has a moment where they're like, well, Chani is like, why do you like him? Someone asks her, and she's like, because he's sincere. And I was like, yeah, like I bought that sincerity here in terms of
And
you
also,
know
and also
it not
since we are
having.
getting there,
Hmm,
and also since we are getting there, the white savior narrative of it all, to
yeah.
all the people who are saying that, like,
Hmm,
I buy the fact that Denis is not technically questioning, or the fact that etymologically all of the terminologies that are being utilized is Middle Eastern, the entire point is Middle
hmm,
Eastern, the fact that the entire political landscape is basically resembling Middle East, and then you're
hmm,
putting in white savior people and all of it,
hmm,
it brings up a lot of dicey questions. I
hmm,
completely understand that Denis is not trying to answer that question, and that
hmm,
that is a criticism all on its own.
hmm.
But telling that this is a white savior narrative is nothing more than a gotcha point, because it's supposed to be that.
Yeah.
That is the whole point of the movie,
So
that a
where
guy, that a
but
white savior,
how can people not understand the fact that this is a critique of that?
because Americans are dumb.
Achha,
So,
you're
Anyways,
okay,
going
so
back
I
to
think,
that.
okay, so maybe
yes.
the only place where I felt that that point was not made clearly was when it shifted to like the whole political narrative, right? Like until it shifted to the political narrative, when they
Hmm,
actually told the plan of like, hey, Paul Atreides might be alive. I mean,
hmm,
where the whole
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Affleck and Florence Pugh
Hmm.
are having a
hmm,
conversation. Until then, you don't really understand that this whole thing is fabricated, or
Hmm.
like it is not. I mean, I understand, okay, fine, people are a little bit dumb, you need a little bit of exposition to have that kind of scene. It
Hmm.
is a weak scene to have, but it's there for a reason. Is
hmm,
that it's to
Yes, exactly.
sell that point that, oh, if you're not getting it by now, that this is a whole thing is fabricated, this whole thing is planned. This is like me trying, this is like people trying to make me
But
like
again,
Austin Butler.
but
Like,
again, Hemant, if you are going there to all the, because these are the same people who say that Dune Part 1 is a masterpiece and all that.
okay.
In your
Prithvish, are you
masterpiece,
here? I just want you to be able to defend
yeah,
this.
Yes, yes, I am here.
Okay,
थोड़ा
So
okay.
सा
long
हर
live
बार
the
कुछ
fighters.
ना कुछ हो जाता है.
No
technical
problem.
glitches.
It's fine. No, I'm
Yeah.
just checking if you're
So,
here because
huh.
I know that we are making counterpoints. So I'm wanting you to be
No,
here just to defend it if you
Yeah.
want
no,
to.
I'm not asking
Nahi,
anybody to
nahi.
defend anything. I'm just saying ki in your masterpiece, the Bene
Hmm.
Gesserit are telling from the beginning ki we have other prospects. We have been laying this for the groundwork for centuries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was already in part one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like at this point in part two, in putting that scene is basically hammering home that look, what is a prophecy? A prophecy
Mhm.
is basically people telling you a story and that is being transplanted to you through generations upon
Yep.
generations such that it becomes fact.
Yeah.
What else
Right.
becomes
Or
fact
if,
like that?
or it
Hero's
feel,
journey.
yeah,
Yeah.
or it feels like this is supposed to happen. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
I can let this happen. I should let this
Like
happen.
precognition, like
Yeah.
हाँ उसको इतने
Yeah.
सारे
careful
तो
planning can
whatever
look like precognition.
whatever
It's
Careful
dream
planning
called
can
sequences
look
he
like
has.
as no, yeah, there's a thing that Noam Chomsky called it. It's called manufacturing consent.
No, but
They,
I feel it's more because for me I think it's very they make it almost too obvious with the dream sequence, especially that his rise is not going to be a noble one as such, and I think the point. I mean, I was taken by how swiftly he changed. Essentially, I didn't
I think
mind
that
that
foreshadowing was from the very
first
first
one also. Yeah, first one also
point,
he has.
very first
so
one
I
as well, because
wait,
Huh.
he
but in
was
that,
saying a war in my name, a
yeah,
holy
Huh.
yeah,
war.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
whole
I
tent
think
scene,
I
I
think
found that scene very infuriating. Honestly, I
Which
didn't like
one?
that scene.
which
Which
one?
one?
Which one? I'm sorry, I
The
wasn't
tent
here. Which one?
after they get out of the sandstorm and the ornithopter crashes and they're in a tent and they're waiting before
yes.
right before they see the I mean
They also had
right
this
after they
weird
see the worm.
sexual tension. They also had this weird sexual tension between mom
Yeah, but
and
Between
there's a
the
between
son,
who? Bet-
between Paul
as in you're
Atreides
talking
and
about
Lady
Dune Part
Jessica.
One.
Paul
Part
and
One.
Part one,
Jessica.
part one.
Acha. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean,
No,
I
I
guess
think that it
that's
wasn't. I think it's more of like Jessica is finally accepting the fact that he's turning into a man like that. That's
yeah,
about
and
it.
Yeah,
she's
more or
lost her
less.
husband, and then there's the whole Oedipal nonsense, which kind of I suppose is there in these
Yeah.
Yeah,
types of
Yeah, yeah,
I think
stories.
it was
exactly.
just
Another
one
no, but
glance.
if you no no, but if you're talking about narratives being passed through, that's also another narrative or myth being passed through
Yes.
ages and ages and ages, right? So like that sort of thing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
even
what
in
is
that context
horrifying,
makes.
and what Herbert is actually trying to say is that an entire world becomes dependent on that narrative that a messiah
Of
will come
course.
to save them. That is
Yes.
Yeah.
basically
Yes.
how faith works. That's
Yeah.
basically how,
I mean,
religious,
fundamentalism and everything. Like it's all
yeah,
like to me, it's
fundamentalism,
all.
that's
So
exactly,
I
Yeah.
think I
yeah,
mean let's okay. So let's go from the thematic aspect of it to the cinematic aspect of it.
Yep.
Is
yeah,
where
yeah, of course.
how they sold the point was that
Hmm.
first they gave you this conceit that hey, we're giving everyone 90 generations. We've been working on a prophecy. We're
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to create someone who's
Hmm.
two generations also. I mean, they're able to have Bene Gesserit. A guy is able to have Bene Gesserit abilities, and
Hmm.
also
They're
because they know that all these
cross
guys.
lining or whatever they're doing, right?
Yeah,
There's that whole thing where
yeah,
the whole section where they explain a lot is essentially my
yeah.
point of yes about like
and
things that are
and they
going
The
on.
go
exposition
on to
scene.
explain that it
Yeah.
has to be a boy because that's how I mean that's
Ha.
they can be kings
There's the
and
whole
or
gender.
emperors
That's actually quite fascinating how the Bene Gesserit are sort of like holding the women back
accepting.
together in their
Yeah,
own sort
exactly.
of shell. So
I
like all
mean,
that is
the thing is that
interesting.
if
Yeah.
the that's the only way that they can have control
Power
is
and control. Yep.
yeah
Yep.
It's
Yep.
basically
because
putting masculine. It's basically putting the masculinity
Oh, you
perspective of a
that
reminded
messiah
same thing
me.
into a
happens even in the
golem.
second one, right? Where
This
they
this
the
movie has
SS
one of those moments also.
yeah Austin
The
Butler gets assessed by them.
no, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
The Jennifer Lawrence X-Men moment this has with Rebecca Ferguson
Oh God.
telling Paul Atreides. It's better here because I think Rebecca Ferguson says it in that really lower like it's in a lower octave she says it. She doesn't like come to the
Yeah.
screen and is
Very
basically
lo-fi
like
mode.
no,
Yeah.
she isn't like coming to the screen and going like "fuck you." Like I'm showing you the middle finger, which Jennifer Lawrence
Yeah.
probably did to Bryan Singer, not to us or whoever was on set at that time.
So you can explain
But
Which
what the scene
is
is. Yeah.
completely
I
fine.
forgot what was the scene. It was like in X-Men Dark Phoenix, so it wasn't Bryan Singer. It was that other dude.
Simon
I
Kinberg.
forgot. Yes,
Simon
yes.
Kinberg.
So she was probably annoyed that she was inside a suit.
Yeah.
That was her main sort of issue, I think, right?
How did we get from Dune to X-Men
No,
Dark
no,
Phoenix?
because there is that moment in this where Rebecca Ferguson is like, only a man can't, or whatever, something like that in the beginning, where she drinks the poison, no? And she's like,
Hmm.
they're like, can you, Paul asks her, can someone handle it or whatever, and she's like, only a
No,
man can't.
can a man handle? Can somebody? Does it hurt? And
Yeah, yeah,
she says
yeah,
that only a woman can.
yeah,
Which
but
mind you is
hmm,
like it's also makes sense to a certain degree, because in reality women do, biologically
Arey, nahi,
also
nahi,
they
I'm
go
to
through
not
lots of
denying that.
changes and everything.
I'm just saying the way
No,
in
no.
which the film communicates. In this, I actually thought it was
In this, it is much
reasonable.
better.
नहीं, उसमें
Yeah,
तो
it's
is
reasonable.
basically the whole whatever, like let's do the message thing and
Hey,
then
hey, stupid man, listen to me. This is what I'm trying to say. That's how it was communicated there. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Here,
yes,
though, it's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But also, it's like, okay, so one problem which I have with the movie, other than the exposition bit, which I
hmm.
don't think is too much of a problem because of
No, it's
how
not a problem. It's just
Villeneuve
think
cuts it.
I just think it's a matter of I was very much
Yeah.
into the Fremen ka storyline
Hmm.
throughout, right? So that was my like that was the first time I actually got interested in the people in the story in the world.
Yeah.
Like they were the
But
interesting part to me.
my problem with the movie,
Uh,
which is quite a big one for me, is the fact
hmm,
that if we are going to compare it in terms of the prestige, if
hmm,
we are going to compare this, the turn of the character which
hmm,
happens, like
hmm,
when Paul Atreides
hmm.
basically, in American terms, drinks the Kool-Aid of his own hype.
Yeah, yeah,
He starts believing that he is the Messiah.
yeah.
Well, no, I
I
mean, I thought it was supposed to be that he just accepts it because that's it. That's the only way
no,
that
but
he can
that
make
doesn't
things work.
happen, right? That doesn't happen, right? That happens when he drinks the
The
The water
tree
plant.
extremely
poison
concentrated
of
spice, which
whatever
is
was it
basically
called?
worm piss,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Or
drinks
it
that
might
extreme.
be, it might be
Yeah.
just like worm semen. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, basically, yeah, could entirely be. So my point being that after he drinks that, that's when he says that
Hmm.
enlightenment occurs, and
Huh.
that's how he sees the future, and he believes that he's part of a larger tapestry. So he basically
Hmm.
becomes from John Osterman to Dr. Manhattan. It's like within the span of
This
2
is a
seconds.
Watchmen reference for whoever
Watchmen
is
This is
listening.
a
references.
Watchmen reference.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he becomes from John Osterman to Dr. Manhattan. I'm like, even John Osterman from Dr. Manhattan took at least 36 panels.
He went from,
You need.
I will say, from more mainstream. He went from from Mr. Fantastic to Doctor Doom.
Yeah, basically, he went from Mr.
Hmm.
Fantastic to Dr. Doom. And I'm like,
Hmm.
you need to give me some time here. And also, what you are doing here, Denny,
Hmm.
I think you are doing this because you need to hit the thematic points. That's why you're kind of trying to do some shortcuts here.
Hmm.
You are basically putting the onus of this character turn into that worm piss, which is not true.
Hmm.
If characters like this exist, kernel of that narcissism should always be there.
So
I never thought the
I
kernel was.
agree, actually. Yes,
I
yeah.
agree with you about this, but I actually think a lot of it then slides into him being influenced a lot by the mother, because I think there's the
But
whole
he
angle.
wasn't, right?
No,
But
but
he
he is
wasn't, right?
he's consistently being, to me, it's like Chinese on one side, right? And then there is Josh Brolin, uh, whatever his name is, kya naam hai?
Gurney
Gurney
Halleck.
Halleck.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, him.
Gurney Halleck.
And Rebecca Ferguson for her
Stilgar,
own motives, and then Stilgar. All three of them are sort of on one side, almost pushing him in one direction, and Chani is in one direction, putting him in another one.
My argument here is, if I'm going to take Dune Part 1 also as the only narrative here, I'm not even bringing all the books and everything into it.
Yeah.
If Chani was supposed to be his dream and his soulmate and all that,
Yeah.
right.
in his emotional dilemma, he had already realized that he's in a dilemma, and Chani says to him that, I will follow you to the ends of the earth if you remain who you are. So for me, it felt like he has started to make a decision that, okay, I am in this dilemma, but I am not going to go towards the fundamentalist side of it. But that is until he drinks that worm piss, and then suddenly he realizes that, oh my God, there is a huge tapestry here. I am just a part of that tapestry. I will follow
So
that
he is
tapestry.
not
I
sort
think
of
that sudden
he doesn't
shift
have his
was
own
very unwelcoming and also very some
Okay.
kind of uneven. because
Sure.
Yeah, and it's like
before that
it's like
very thing, he
hmm,
was very unsure. He was not listening to. He was actually listening to whatever Stilgar was saying, and he
hmm.
was being very very benevolent to whatever he is commanding to. Like
No,
before
but
and
him
it
drinking the
doesn't
warm.
and
Chani
it's like
convince him to go to the south because otherwise they'll basically be doomed if he
no,
stays there,
Chani
Yeah.
convinces him to go to the south because
but remain himself.
Even if
Hmm.
Chani doesn't agree, she still knows that many of her follower, many of her
Yeah, she
clan
understands
people
the
follow.
utility of it. I think
She
that she,
understands the utility of the
Yeah,
Messiah. Even if Gurney Halleck too, realize
yeah,
this, Gurney Halleck too understands the utility of a Messiah-like figure.
yeah.
That's the cynical part of it. The fact that there is a character, there is basically a golem-like figure, which is a
Hmm.
Messiah,
Hmm.
which
Right.
people can follow.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying he basically drank his own Kool-Aid, which is literally
Mhm.
drinking a Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the whole point, that if you are drinking a Kool-Aid, you're basically putting the onus of all this character turning onto that Kool-Aid. And
Sure.
that is not how it
Okay,
works.
fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a very good
It's
point. And I mean,
yeah,
to me
I
though,
mean, we are getting close to calling it a Deus Ex Machina, but it
Yes,
was also,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
but
I didn't mind. So
I
I'll
yeah, go
I'll
on.
just say that in terms of maybe I responded to the central romance also, and I responded to
Yeah,
both the performers
Yeah, me
also
too.
a fair bit. So I thought Timothy Chalamet he did the whole tipping over he sees what the benefit is, especially when he's in front with him, with Stilgar, and because everyone is keeps on telling him this. I was like, essentially drinking that thing was also his own, like his choice as per. I mean, in
Yeah,
the
it was
sense that
kind of like a
didn't he?
suicide, right?
Yeah, because didn't he see in one of the visions that Rebecca Ferguson is the one walking amidst all
Yeah,
the doom and gloom that has already
Hmm.
happened in the
yeah.
future? So I mean,
Initially, he thought it was him. Then he realized that it was Rebecca Ferguson.
There were so
Initially, he
many
thought it
people
was
he
him.
sees. First, it was him, then it was Chani, then it
and
became his
then
mom.
boom, yeah. So I
Yeah.
think I feel there is enough of his own consciousness in choosing that path that I can like buy the leap that you're saying that the film makes, but I get what you mean. And I feel there's another moment with the bloodline mixing where they say that he's essentially a Harkonnen, right? That's the whole. I'm
Yes.
like,
Yeah,
does
Yes.
he
Yes.
need to be like Harkonnen? In my head, I was like, can't. I mean, I guess they are again literalizing the point that these empires are essentially the same, right? There is no
yeah.
what Charlotte Rampling
They're
says.
literally putting to the point. They're literally putting the point ki power is incestuous.
Ah,
That's
nee, and it's
literally what it
also
is.
Charlotte Rampling says no, where they're basically talking in their minds. Her and
Right, right,
Rebecca
right, right.
Ferguson. Rebecca
Or in,
Ferguson's like, you chose the wrong side, and then she's like,
yeah,
you
like
forgot
there
that
is
there
no
is no
side.
side.
There is no
Which
sides. Yeah.
which I think is the whole genetic. Maybe they have their own sort of Harkonnen Atreides
No,
doesn't
no,
really make a
no. I
difference.
think it was more like a bigger. There is no side. Is that like you will turn into a Harkonnen? I mean, he
Huh.
says right. He says when he's there in the southern temple,
Hmm.
southern air temple. So
Sudden death.
so the southern temple, they had that conversation where he's like, okay, so I mean, did you know that you were a Harkonnen? And he was like, I didn't know until I drank the water.
Yeah.
I drank
And
that
then he
piece.
was like, then we have to be Harkonnens. And
Yes.
that's when the whole side, there is no side and everything
Yes.
that comes in.
Like
Where,
I appreciate that you changed the revenge angle and took it to a much
yes,
bigger picture. I get that.
yeah.
I just think the path
But
he
it's
took
there.
was
He
very too
does.
simplistic.
He still
Yeah.
uses the emperor to get
Yeah.
because he wants to be the emperor, but he's also using the emperor's daughter to have a legal way into it.
And also
Yeah,
not
exactly.
kill Chani off, I suppose, because that's the whole thing he's trying to do with that decision.
What
Considering he
the
saw a
book has,
vision.
what the book has, the movie omits is one
Spoilers.
line.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
No, I'm just saying there is one line in the book which ends Dune, which
Okay.
isn't in the movie, which I think was very necessary. That
Okay.
is Jessica telling to
says it
Chani.
yeah.
Says it to Chani ki, what I'm paraphrasing is like Irulan might be his legal wife.
His
Ah.
concubine.
Yeah,
Concubine,
Yeah.
yes.
but for
Yeah.
all
In the book,
intents and
yeah.
purposes, is his concubine.
Yeah.
Yes.
In
So
the book,
basically-
actually, Chani becomes the concubine, and
No,
she
no, no.
becomes
No, no.
fully
No,
aware
No.
of the
no,
fact
What
that
I
It's
mean
the other
is,
way around.
yeah, what I mean is emotionally, Chani,
Like a Krishna
Chani will be the
situation.
queen.
Like a Lord
Okay.
Krishna situation, right?
Wow.
Huh.
Wow,
yeah,
we
it
are
is.
putting bad
It
stuff
is
together.
Radha
Rakhel,
and Rukmani
Rakhel,
or whatever you want to call it like that, right?
Rakhel,
Yeah. Oh my
Rakhel.
God. I did not
Wow.
I did not use that word.
It's a
Anyways,
word. That's the
uh,
word. Yeah, we have a negative
That's
no,
it.
but
That is the
connotation.
no,
word.
but
Yeah.
I actually thought so. I was reading that Chani is actually much more obliging to him, his final decision in this, in the book
Oh,
about.
no, in the
Doesn't
book,
she?
Hmm.
no, in
Huh?
the book, she
No,
she regret. No,
she agrees to it.
I mean, no, she accepts it,
She's
but she does it
regrets
in a
it, I
very like
think.
a defensive way. She does
Yeah,
it
yeah.
only to protect herself and her
Sure,
people.
but in this she
Yeah, yeah.
completely rejects it, right? She walks away, sort of like that.
Yeah, she walks away after everything is done, after
Yeah.
he's achieved what he wanted to achieve.
She's
Hmm.
like
This whole,
she's trying to retain a form of individualism of her
yes,
own because
yeah,
she is not moving away from her own perspective, which is
Yeah.
like fundamentalism is
She's
ultimately
the
wrong.
rebel. I was like, she's almost like a rebel. कौन सी है यार वो rogue story, rogue
Gene
nation क्या
Erso,
नाम है उसका?
Gene Erso,
Jenny
हाँ
Gene
हाँ
Erso,
वही
Rogue
वही
One का
rogue
Gene
हाँ
Erso, yeah.
वही rogue nation. I was saying I brought Mission
Rogue
Impossible in
Nation,
this.
Jessica, yeah, Rebecca
Yeah,
Ferguson
because
का
of
movie.
Rebecca Ferguson. Yeah. नहीं, so yeah, like I mean, I liked the ending actually for some. Like I thought the final shot was also
For some
telling
reason,
that it
nahi,
was
the
on
ending
her.
is great. The
Yeah.
ending is great. I
Hmm.
like
I
the
No, I
think
ending
he
a
get your
lot.
maybe does it
problem.
with an image rather than them saying that she will be the one who he always loves, but
Hmm.
Yeah,
Irulan will be the one that he'll just have to legally marry, and she'll never
yeah,
actually experience the love of actually being a wife. And that
yeah.
was the line from the last para.
That was a line in the book which the movie omits for
Yes.
because according to Villeneuve, I don't like dialogue, which cool,
Yeah,
man.
but I guess this is
Doesn't
I
something
work.
really
that
like
also
I really like the
the
final montage in this though. I was like, I
yeah,
was
it's
not
a very
expecting to build
it's
up to
a
like,
it reminded
It's a
me a
very
lot of
classical build up,
yeah.
signing off montage, which is done quite well.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
Nolan की
Dunkirk
तरह.
ending.
Yes, exactly.
I liken both of them together.
Ah,
Like
it was more
Dunkirk
like
ending and
a lot of
Dune Part 2.
montages.
No wonder
Yeah.
I like this then, because I love Dunkirk then. So yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was expecting there'll be like a ornithopter, like slightly
Yeah.
going against the beach.
Yes,
Nahi,
yes,
But
but
I
yes.
guess okay.
we haven't talked
one
about.
thing that
Sorry.
yeah,
No, I
We
was
will
about to
talk
say
about the bad parts. We have to talk
so
about some of the
there are bad.
filmmaking aspects
No,
also.
no.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
about to talk about the action sequences. I thought the opening action sequence
Oh
was
yeah.
spectacular.
The
Like
jumping
the
up
every
towards the
single
cliff.
action sequence in this
Yeah.
movie was great. It was
yeah.
just perfect. It was
The first
they're
one
all
reminded me of Sicario actually. Just
Oh
the
yeah.
quietness of it and
How
just the tension of
how the
building
shot
up and
happen, how
everything.
that
yeah.
Yeah.
sniper shot happens,
Yes.
how the sniper
Yeah.
shot happens, hits
Yes.
the
Yeah.
helmet and then he falls.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yes,
no, I
so
mean
good.
not just that the camera perspective, right? Like there's the one
Yeah,
camera
yeah.
viewing
Yeah.
everything, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
bringing it back to him
No,
was
but
just
I
great.
was even noticing in some of the
I also liked
It's
how
actually
he
very
showed.
similar to a war movie. It's
war,
thing
as
that
in
like
like Aditya Chopra wali.
No,
no.
Sorry,
Jesus.
Siddharth. No, Siddharth Anand. Sorry, I was about to say Aditya
Terrence
Chopra.
Malick and Siddharth Anand on in the same sentence. But yeah,
The
Thin Red Line has
comparisons.
that same shot where like they have like a same camera. It just it changes focus on everything. It's the same focal
Mm-hmm.
length.
Yeah.
But like
What I also loved is like we have seen a lot of heroes levitating up and then flying and something like that. Can't remember the last time it looked this cool. Somebody
yeah,
jumping in a
yes,
gravity
yes.
and going up the
Oh,
cliff. I'm like,
This
wow.
this does not apply to Stellan Skarsgård's entry though, because that is hilarious. Like
yeah.
hilarious in the I don't think it's intentional because it's such a similarly menacing tone the film has. I was like, again, he's not scary, he's funny. So is
Actually,
Batista.
in in the end, he kind of becomes a little bit powerless. Like
He becomes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
he
Batista is
doesn't have the
also
same menace
powerless,
that
but
he had
I was
was
just
before.
like, just
What
stop
the biggest
shouting.
disappointment, who the biggest disappointment for me is the Sardokars. The
Oh
Sardokars,
yeah,
because those were built up so much, like, drumming planets, so much,
Yeah.
impressionistic, and the way they die is basically like so much of a coward,
Well,
nahi, matlab,
have you
jo
did you
bhi.
notice that in every there were repeat shots from the first movie which were now
Yes, yes,
mirrored? Yeah, like
yes,
the flyover
yes.
shot that was there in the beginning
Yeah.
in the first movie was now the other way around.
The other
They
way
have
around, yes.
the
Sardar are attacking these
burning
guys,
also
but it's the other
happens,
way
no? I
around.
think the burning of the bodies
Oh, ja,
in.
Oh,
yes,
not just
yes,
that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just
yes.
the flying over with all of them attacking
Okay, okay. Got it.
Anakin.
Yeah. That's the same shot, just mirrored
Mirrored,
Yeah,
basically.
mirrored.
and
Okay.
over that, even like Gurney Halleck going away to Raban, like that's a
Oh
mirror
yeah,
shot
yeah.
where in the
So see,
background. So every shot,
I feel.
no cool person will look at the explosion. Every cool person is a side shot walking while the explosion happens behind
Yes,
them.
explosion happens
Literally, the
behind.
whole movie.
Yes.
I was counting. There's so many of those shots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry, what were you
You know
saying,
one,
Amartya?
great visual shot which I loved. When the Emperor's ship is appearing over Arrakis,
Yes.
the shot, because it's a reflective surface, it's
Yeah.
reflecting the
Yes.
ground below. I was like, damn,
One
that's
of the,
good.
I think
Like
one of the
Attack of the
action.
Clones has been
Oh my God.
insulted. Like, or even Phantom Menace, actually. Even that has a shiny ship that sucks. Like,
No,
this is the
but-
biggest shiny ship ever.
But there's, I mean, I remember he uses it 2-3 times where it's the whole maximum sound and then cut to like absolutely minimum. But I
Absolute
loved it
silence,
when
yeah.
the first time him and Chani go and attack the ship that
Oh, yeah.
comes, where
dude,
they
yes.
Oh, dude, man,
exploded and then they
that was
cut
so
to
good,
her
yeah.
running. And then as she's
Yeah.
running, the ship like totally falls in the
Yeah.
background. And I was
In the
like,
background.
yeah,
That
like,
silence.
Dude, that whole scene was a
That
great scene of
silence.
someone
Yeah.
gaining
Yeah.
trust from others. That was like one of the better scenes I've seen in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
Last of the Mohicans is one where it's like all the same story, Pocahontas story, right? Where
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
one
yeah.
person is going into a tribe, they have to gain
Again,
their
one of
trust.
Michael Mann,
Also,
one of Mann's
also,
best movies,
also I
man.
love
Mohicans, yeah.
Also,
one
I
of Mann's
love the
best movies.
sound designing where in the
Oh,
Fremen
dude.
caves when they took Jarmus's body and Stilgar was talking to Lady Jessica, like
Yeah.
how water is rare. And I love how the sound designing was like they are the characters are like
Yeah, they're
acutely whispering
whispering.
to your ears.
Yeah, they're whispering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah.
whispering, and like that sound designing was so,
It felt
and
so
that
big,
ambient,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
that was so fucking
Dude,
great,
the
man.
sound,
It's like,
I can't wait to get to the sound of the movie. It has got the best theme.
Dude.
Okay, so we can get into music now, right? Like you want to get
Yes, yes.
musically nerdy about it?
we
Like,
need to talk about
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer and
Hans
sound
Zimmer.
design.
Okay, we
Dude,
will be
you
talking
need
I
to
have,
start on
I
it
have been on a
ASAP.
binge, dude. I have now like I have been very close to maxing like really like credit card debt kind of like situation where I have added shit in my cart from Native Instruments. So Native Instruments, Spitfire Audio. If anyone is interested in audio production, like music production,
Yeah.
you should check it out. Hans Zimmer has like strings, but they're extremely expensive. They're like $500 for like a virtual instrument. You have so all of these sounds that have been created, right? Like all the flute sounds, the backpipe sounds, everything, they have made it into virtual instruments, and they have actually created a whole library of samples, multi-sampled in every single volume possible, in every single velocity possible. And now they have like they sell that like on
You're buying
on
that? How much is
websites.
that?
It's like $1,500 for one piano.
Jesus Christ.
Like,
Okay.
if you want the
Oh,
church
I'm sorry, I can't say it.
interstellar,
Like
it's
religious
450.
organizations are not cannot be mentioned in Dune 2, I suppose.
If you want something free, they have Contact 7, which is actually free, which I have. I actually made a bunch of stuff on Ableton just because I was like obsessed with that one theme. You know that one
Yeah.
theme that you play when they start kissing?
Oh, I love that. That's the one theme I was like,
Oh.
because it's not a
It's
typical
called,
Hans Zimmer theme, I feel. Because it's like,
It's
come
a
on, man,
time,
that's
the
such
time
a
of quiet
that
between
sound like the Stay wala theme from
Blade Runner.
okay, yeah,
It
fair
reminds
enough.
me of
No,
Blade
but
Runner.
I guess
That
in the
that
world it
music
was
reminds me so much of Blade Runner.
okay.
I didn't
Okay.
play
No,
it. Like there is this
copyright nahi chahiye, sir,
Oh
but yes.
man.
this right this one
Yes. With the longer, the string stays for a longer time, sort of like the sound.
right.
Yeah. No, I just
This-
like what Middle Eastern instrument did he use for some of the flute
that
work?
was the flute. So they used
Hey, can you play the Gurney song? Can you play the Gurney song?
I don't know. It's A,
The
G,
song which
and
he
then
was.
he plays D for some reason, even though it's a 9-string instrument. Like he's playing.
Wait,
the
hold on. Hold on.
inside
This
of
is
a
now a
9-string
musical.
instrument.
This is now a
Yes,
musical night. Good.
musical,
Yeah.
yeah.
Since we
I
got
brought
it,
my-
come
I brought
on,
my
you know this
dinner.
theme, right? You know this theme,
Yeah.
right? this theme blew me away. I was like, oh, this is what I want. This is
This
what I
is
was listening.
this is the time when they also like when he's basically getting inducted right into the whole
Yeah.
Fremen.
But
Yeah.
if
That's
you
what I was
okay,
saying. The entire Paul Chani montage
Huh.
wherein they were attacking, and he was also at the same time he was also slowly becoming a part of the Fremen tribe.
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
that was
when
the
this theme
crescendo, right? Like that's
happens.
when he achieves it.
Crescendo, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it happened so when I was traveling to Mumbai for the premiere, I was on the soundtrack.
Oh,
And when the
nice.
soundtrack came out, I was like, yeah. And I'll tell you, the soundtrack, if you listen to it separately, not on the film, you listen to it separately, it's amazing. He has
Yeah.
Okay.
Hans Zimmer on the bass. He has gone full on with the bass
Yeah.
part on part 2.
Yeah.
And he has like more than string instruments. I think he has
Use
focused more
percussion.
on the
Yeah, for
bass.
sure. Yeah. Like
Percussions.
the
Too much.
that one is the whole like the
That
Dune theme, right?
yes.
The Arakin theme.
Yes,
But like
yes,
he
yes.
also
Yes,
sells
yes.
every single, I think every single one of the houses, or at least the parties, like the Fremen have so we're just gonna have to do that.
No,
And
that's
then
okay.
the Harkonnen have bum 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 bum, and that is like that turns into like a rave, like an EDM rave when you go to the Harkonnen in Gedi Prime, right? Where he's like the birthday is happening.
Austin
and
Butler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
the
Austin Butler,
when it turns gladiator or whatever you want to
yeah,
call it.
no,
Yeah.
not that. When his birthday, like all the also like I mean, we can go back to like
Okay,
sound
yes.
plus visual design and how they show fireworks in Gedi Prime, where it's liquid, it's the arrival aliens blowing up in the air.
Yeah.
So and like, but all the music that has been created for them are all percussion based, because his whole philosophy for music, especially in this movie, is that something that transcends generations and also civilizations is percussion and rhythm.
Yeah.
Because you can, or everywhere in the world,
It
if you
can-
can go, you will have people who will be having drums, like
Yeah.
somehow drums will be involved. And you can define their entire civilization based on just drum beats. Like hell, you have Latin, you just, that one thing will be an entire whole continent is just that. Okay.
Yeah.
And even in Indian music, like you have got even though you have Carnatic and Hindustani classical, the bass notes that they use are basically the same. And that's something that he worked on a lot with all the musicians era. Also, I have to give my shout out to my man Guthrie Govan. He's the best guitarist in the world. He's also a guitarist in Hans Zimmer's band. He plays the whole so you know the bagpipe theme that they play for Atreides, where that's not bagpipe, that's actually his guitar.
Oh yeah, I was reading. Yeah, he didn't use
So
a
he was like
bagpipe.
this
Right.
Charvel guitar that he was using to like just he used like two pedals, and he created a bagpipe theme out of it. And that bagpipe theme, that same bagpipe theme, is the beginning motif for this theme, for bum bum, where if you remember, like the Only I Will Remain in the soundtrack, the last second song I think in the album, where bum para bum, if you play that, like you can overlay that right onto the bagpipe theme.
Okay.
Because it's the Atreides
This is from the part 2 ka soundtrack only, or part 1 ka?
This is from the part 2 ka soundtrack, yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at all that, he literally takes motifs. It's again back to a lot of things where Howard Shore used like a bunch of motifs for every single one of the places.
Yeah.
He has done the same thing here, where he
Got
takes
it.
like the Atreides theme, and now it
Oh,
is
so that Ajay, like the
theme.
Lord of the Rings thing, like he takes that.
I did not expect this to become like a half musical musical podcast, which I don't think we ever done.
but that's how all these movies should work, right? Because
of course.
I agree. Yeah.
intermingling of all these motifs kind of should ensure that the closure of a scene or a movie works. That's how it works.
Yeah, it has to be on two levels, and like you listen, like Prithwish mentioned, if you just listen to the album, right, like it's such a great album because it works as a story. Like all of there is a
moods and all of them are sort of
inside of the album itself. Like I can totally say that I've gotten high and listened to the Dune soundtrack. I'll be honest, I've listened to it a bunch of times actually.
Yeah.
just to get to the Lisan Al Gaib, that
Final
uh,
thing. Yeah.
the final
Every time somebody
that
says
is
"Listen, Al Gaib," all I remember is Javier Bardem's
Still
face
God.
when he
Still
said,
good.
yeah.
I'm so happy that Javier Bardem finally has a likable character. And
Is he
for which
likable?
he's famous.
he's
Yeah.
such a likable character.
He's likable. Okay, fine. I found him scary, which is why I liked him. So like, as in, like, I got the function.
No, he's
of the-
likable. He's
No, no, no.
likable in
He's
that he's
likable.
approachable. He's approachable,
Yeah.
but he's
I
also
He's-
mean, he's
scary
a
because his belief
fundamentalist.
is
I
very
love this
scary.
whole thing of like, don't listen to the ghost, the jinns are like, that's scary, they'll kill you.
He's the
I'm
he's
just not
the
scary.
he's the Hagrid.
He is.
Yeah.
I
But it's also
no,
like
I thought some Indian
his
movies that are
belief is scary, right? He's
I
like
thought
he's like a
Uday
much more
Chopra and Mohabbat.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Oh man, you know what I love? You know,
I
low
love
key, I
Mohabbat
love
hai.
these Bollywood.
Okay.
Please
No,
don't say you love
I
Mohabbat.
low-key
I
do.
love Mohabbat.
You know what? I haven't even watched Mohabbat.
I have been watching that movie. I've been trying to watch
What do
that
you mean you've
movie.
been watching that movie?
3 hours.
Watch.
Watching is 3
It's for
hours
his
and
thesis.
35 minutes. I've
Yeah,
been
but
making
I
it
know
in
that.
his-
I've seen
every
it.
time it shows up on Set Max. So every
Yeah.
time it shows up on Set Max,
गाने बहुत अच्छे
you've
हैं.
been trying to watch.
Yeah. No, I'd say Amartya's
सिर्फ
doctoral
वही है.
dissertation is on Uday Chopra and
Yeah.
Mohabbat.
Yeah, at this point it is. At
Oh
this
my
point
Still
it is.
watching.
See, given that in which campus I am right now, thank
Okay.
God it's getting over.
You're
But
good that Varun is
I
not
can't
here.
help.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't help but escape from these Bollywood songs. So
Oh,
especially when
Arey,
there are
you're-
Shah Rukh
you
Khans.
once you
So
leave the campus, you'll come back to it. I think. You'll remember
yeah,
it. Maybe.
yeah,
I'm not
maybe,
sure.
maybe.
But
As
He's
someone who's been
basically
out of
I-
he's
college
basically
for-
Paul Atreides. He's basically Paul Atreides having drunk the warm piss. That is what he is right now.
Yeah.
I drank the warm piss 2 years ago, and
Yes.
since then I've started not give a shit.
Yeah, don't get brainwashed by nostalgia.
Yes, basically, yeah.
There's I mean okay, so back to the just the way the sound works in this movie. I really I've always respected people using sound in movies is like a huge deal, like because I feel like Nolan is one big I'm a huge Nolan hater because of his sound, like not
Do you think it's loud?
sound, like
No,
the sound design of his movies is very confusing. It's like
Okay.
it's not something that it's not very
I mean,
consistent.
the plots
like-
aren't very.
I can
not
understand. I can understand
confusing
from where
also,
you are
so-
coming from. No, I can
Okay.
understand where he's
Yeah,
coming
but
from because
in the
in
same thing
Oppenheimer
happens
as
with,
well.
if you look at like even smaller directors, right? Like if you look at people like or like smaller action directors, I mean like and back in the day, like you had Tony Scott, you had Michael Mann. They're not small budget, they're medium to large budget.
Like, but this is like blockbuster budget. No, these two
Yeah,
are
but
now.
they
Okay.
knew how to they understood what a scene has to have a starting, middle.
I'm
and
so
end.
glad you brought up Michael Mann. Michael Mann is the one director who knew how to use sound.
Ferrari
Yeah,
has
I
a
mean,
great use of
Ferrari,
sound
dude,
also.
has-
I've
Hmm.
seen. I
He-
liked.
I've seen Ferrari, liked Ferrari.
Yeah,
Love-
yeah. Ferrari,
Like Ferrari,
more than
loved
that,
Penelope Cruz. Where is her
Oh
nomination?
my God, she was the best part
Oh,
of the movie.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Adam Driver was actually the weakest part of the movie.
That's probably because of the accent and all that, I feel. No,
Yeah.
he can't be the weakest part.
Also, his-
Shailene Woodley is abysmal in
Shailene
that.
Woodley is
She's like,
definitely the
yeah,
weakest part
pretty
because
bad,
what the
yeah.
hell was
She's-
that accent?
Yeah.
What the hell?
No,
was that
but Penelope Cruz was so good in that
and
film.
why
and
why
it
the
has
fuck they are
sound thing.
still getting Adam Driver to do that horrible Italian
Last,
accent?
hopefully.
Why the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last.
Also,
I mean,
Anyway,
also
fine.
no. Since we are in Michael Mann, man knows how to use sound. Each and every soundtrack you listen to him, you
Yeah.
listen, and then you see the movie.
Soundtrack
Dude,
is
Thief,
All of
dude,
it
like
works.
Thief,
All
the
of it is
soundtrack of
placed.
Thief by Tangerine.
Soundtrack of
Manhunter,
Thief
Miami
is amazing.
Vice.
Yeah.
Amazing. Soundtrack of Thief
Anyway,
by
even
Tangerine Dream
Manhunter.
is masterpiece.
I want
yeah.
more
Sorry,
Nolan
Miami
critique.
Vice. Miami Vice.
Miami Vice,
Even
yeah,
Miami Vice as well.
That's the vibe movie.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's the
Vibe
vibe movie.
movie.
That's a complete vibe movie. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, if you see Nicholas Rogue, right? Like, I know that, like, no, don't look now. Arun was hating.
Yeah.
Arey, nahi, you leave him.
Even that, like, even Nicholas Rogue has a great style of selling an idea with just sound with no
Yeah.
dialogue. And if
I would be
Denis
very
does not like,
curious.
if he doesn't like dialogue, then this is the only way you can really speak,
Of
right?
course.
Like, having good music
I
is
would
the
be
only way
very
you can do it.
Bolo Prithvi,
I would be
sorry.
very curious for Hemant to have his opinions on the zone of interest.
I was
Oh,
about
I
to.
want
You've
to
watched
know.
it, no?
I want to know
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
what's your opinion on the sound design of especially the end credits, dude. That scared the
And
shit out
credits.
of me.
dude.
Oh, because
I
of the
like
Mika Levy
I
score. Or
Yeah,
Hmm.
I was like, I sat through the entire end credits. मतलब जी फट के हाथ में आ गया था. Still,
Oh,
I
Dude, I
yeah.
was
was
the last
still
one in
I
the
was.
theater. Dude, I was the last one in the theater trying to like I actually didn't read the credits of the movie. I didn't read anything. I knew it was Jonathan Glazer, and I really love Under the Skin. I really love the Ben Kingsley one. I forgot
Sexy
the name.
Beast.
Sexy Beast.
Yeah, Sexy Beast. Yeah,
Sexy Beast.
I think that's
Yeah.
better, but
No, yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah.
What do you mean that's a lot better?
like
It's
as a
not- I
watch,
mean-
like, as a enjoyable watch.
Okay. I was about to say
Yeah.
it's not that much better than. I mean, I've not seen Sexy Beast, so I don't get to say that much better
No,
than
I have
Under the
seen.
Skin.
Sexy Beast is-
I still think it's Glazer's best work.
No.
Okay,
Sexy
I think
Yeah,
Under the
Sexy
Skin
Beast
is
No,
is-
it's
best,
most
whatever I've
accessible
seen.
as Sexy Beast. I think his
No,
best
I
is definitely
genuinely
Zone of
think
Interest.
that. I
Okay.
think that and
I
Under
do
the
think Zone
Skin
of
is
Interest
like
has
neck and neck for
issues,
me.
but I think
Zone of
Under the
Interest
Skin
has
is
issues.
I think it's his best. Like Zone of Interest. Is definitely-
directorially maybe, but I feel it's got. I hate the section when it leaves the house. I think that's
Okay.
the weakest section
Yeah,
of his
different
filmography.
review. Like
Different review, yeah, yeah.
Full
yeah.
on different review, man.
I think
Full on.
okay, but there is something to be said about like how Zone of, I mean, how
The end
movies
credit.
like that. How in okay, so there are some movies where you have a small space and you have to really sell. You don't have much
Yeah.
to tell the
Hmm.
story, so you have to use sound, and you can use the
Yeah.
ambient sound of that place.
Yes.
And the sound is one of what the characters are doing
Hmm.
to sell the story and some tension. You can create tension with that. The way that that Dune 2 works is that it goes from scene to scene in a way that when there are some scenes which are cross-cutting scenes, like how I feel like Denis is a great marriage of Nolan and James Cameron, is that he knows how to cross-cut and then he knows how to stay in a scene, just commit.
Nolan is too
space.
fast of a cutter.
Nolan is like cross-cutting when he's on point. It's like his cross-cutting is masterful, but I think he
When?
overdoes it a lot sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
No, he
Because
doesn't know how to stay
he's
in a
also
scene. I
writer,
feel.
right? He likes dialogue.
Like I mean, I feel Dunkirk to me is the best Nolan because of that.
Let me
anyways,
rephrase
go ahead.
that. Nolan loves monologues, not dialogues.
Yeah.
He likes people talking and then not
No,
someone
but that's a
actually
great point about Villeneuve being a cross between Cameron and I have not seen much Cameron, but I can attest that the whole
Listen,
Nolan,
like
Cameron
I'm one of the few people who actually likes Way of Water more than the original Avatar, but I generally I really do like
even
that.
I can give Way of Water a lot of like credit for that whole last sequence when it was sinking.
When it becomes Titanic.
Man.
When it becomes Titanic.
When it becomes a cross between Titanic and Aliens.
Yeah.
That's
And Abyss.
exactly what it becomes.
Yeah.
And Abyss, yeah.
No, that is the section I also liked. So
yeah, and it's where he really proves to you that, and also like the night sequence where the kids are being in danger and everything, where the sequences actually, or at least the idea of a sequence is that you're supposed again have a start, middle, and end. And that tension that needs to stay in until the end is something you can only you can't really get very easily with just dialogue. And he has to know where the characters are, how they're moving, what the threat is, what the problems they have to solve, and there are all these micro problems that he creates for them to get past. Like how in the whole sequence where he's trying to get Chandi's trust, right? Like, and he's trying to guide Chandi. Chandi does a thing. That whole sequence of it just being, I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it the Halo. There is one thing called Scarab. If anyone has played Halo, like a Scarab is like the thing, the big tick.
The harvester. The harvester.
The harvester, yeah.
Sand harvester, yeah.
The harbinger from Mass Effect. So
yeah, the harbinger from Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, so
Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect?
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect 2.
You are talking like you clarify what is. I mean, I know what Mass Effect is, but just for viewers who are not into gaming.
No, this is all visual. No one's gonna get it.
Okay, fine.
No one is gonna get it.
You want me to cut all of this out?
Imagine a tick or a termite, okay, and make that a robot, and
Yeah.
that's what it is in Dune 2.
Got
And
it.
that
Yeah.
termite robot, the legs of it, they're trying to go along with the
Or
legs
for
of it in the
or for
shade.
Spider-Man fans, basically think about it like the Spider Slayers from the original 1990
Wow,
Spider-Man
man! Like
cartoon.
this is
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
the only
this is the
scarab I know is from
accessible, tough,
Blue Beetle.
impossible reference.
Blue Beetle.
yeah.
Wow.
Like
The Blue Beetle, the movie.
Blue Beetle also.
Blue
Blue
Beetle,
Beetle
yeah.
had the MacGuffin of Blue Beetle was a scarab,
Yeah.
No,
And
but
so
which gave the
I
I mean,
power.
think
these
the
sequences really worked in because he knew how to spatially put the view,
he's
and
staging
then
it very
also
well. Yeah,
yeah, and
he's
he stages it in a way where you're not confused as to where you are, you're not
yeah,
Oh,
confused
yeah.
what's supposed to happen next. Like every meeting you ever have in the world, everyone's gonna ask you like, oh, what are the next steps?
Yeah.
Please tell me
No,
what are
the
the next steps.
all the action
But
in the film is probably sound and visuals both
yeah,
credit here. Like there is not an inch of confusion in whatever is going on. Like
yeah.
there's a proper
my thing
I
about
clarity.
actually I tuned out a little bit actually, but I think that visually it works really well, like a silent
Sure.
movie, like how even in Dunkirk, right? Like how Nolan's whole
Mhm.
conceit was that I want to make a movie work without any dialogue and make it
Hmm.
work like a silent movie. This is
Hmm.
somewhat in
Sure.
the same ilk,
I
where
Okay.
think
all the action scenes can work perfectly in black and
Hmm.
white in and complete and
So,
honestly, this is a black and white movie. This is a monochromatic movie.
I
In
mean, it
many ways, it's
becomes
a
one
monochromatic
also.
movie.
But yes, yeah.
It has infrared sequences. Even that
Yeah.
sequence also, it has a great space where you have like that long camera and it shows a flat image of like Austin Butler moving up the screen instead of moving diagonally.
No.
And like he
and it's
shows everything spatially really well.
yeah, and it's also like my one issue visually speaking is the fact that I never felt that regarding the ships and all of it, it's like scale wise they look huge, right?
Yeah.
I get that they scale wise they look huge. What I missed is what I think Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or all those great movies have. It's the sense of wonder of something which is completely abstract. I think that sense of wonder is missing here
But as in
because
like
it
the
is
image of the fetus, essentially, sort of like that, or
yeah,
no?
basically
Yeah.
it's
The
yeah, more or
2001
less,
Dude,
yeah.
image.
that was such a
2001
beautiful.
reference, exactly,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
2001 thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's like you are showing me the shape, but what I am getting from it is a large shape. I'm getting the largest of it. I'm not getting the fact that
Mythic
it's shaped
almost,
like
or like
yeah.
whatever.
I'm not
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not getting the fact that it's actually weird that the ship is shaped like testicles, because that would undercut the fact that it's not about scale. It's also the world also is very weird,
Yeah.
because Herbert was a very
So
weird
I think
writer.
a lot of your
Yeah.
central criticism, I
Yeah.
think, was also based on the fact that Villeneuve is flattening a lot of the weirdness in
Villeneuve is
the
flattening the weirdness for accessibility. I can't fault
accessibility.
a
Yeah.
filmmaker for that. I
Yes.
can't
Yeah.
fault a filmmaker for that, but I can't also let it go because the source material itself is very weird.
Yeah.
And at some point, that weirdness will automatically come to the forefront, and then that accessibility will become a problem.
No, but
Like-
that happens, I think, a lot
Well-
of the times, which is why I think some of the images or moments in the film I can't take seriously because they are inherently a bit weird also. I think Skarsgård's character design itself is weird. I'm like, I can't in this self-serious tone take him as
because
remotely menacing.
he's so how do I say this, the world itself is, even within the otherworldliness, the world itself is so grounded because of its accessibility.
Yeah.
The fact that a man who is overweight and who is being levitated by ropes or a
Yeah.
weird harness,
Yeah.
and he looks like some sort of a expansive figure, like a specter of some
phallic
sort.
figure, yeah.
Yeah, phallic figure basically.
Yeah.
The fact that nobody's paying attention to that is very weird to me. I'm
Yeah.
like, somebody should.
Well,
What the
I
hell?
think I thought it was supposed to be just out of like sheer imagery. He just wanted to show his power through an image rather than actually show, and a little bit of his actions, of course.
Yeah,
And
you know
but
how that works. It's like as a
make him
still image,
iconic.
Like
Skarsgård's
Austin Butler's
character as a
stuff is
still
actually
image
quite
works.
effective,
Yeah.
I feel that way,
Hmm.
rather than
Yeah.
this
But that's
Skarsgård
also
stuff.
because of Butler's own aggression, right? Because
Yeah.
Like
Butler's
I
character,
felt
how
like
he's been.
Butler should have shut the fuck up. Like I really felt like he should not have been talking at all. Because
At
his
all,
whole
you mean? Okay, just
Yeah,
the
exactly.
abusiveness
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
accent,
yeah. He should have
his
been
whole
quiet.
Buster Scruggs accent is not really something I was appreciating. Like,
He's doing
it's not
Stellan
even Buster
Skarsgård though,
Scruggs.
no?
No,
He's
I
doing
think
Stellan Skarsgård accent.
I
Yeah, he's doing.
think Austin Butler has lost his original voice ever since he started doing Elvis.
Yeah.
He's still in his Elvis era.
no, I mean,
Imagine,
honestly, he was sounding like this before too. Like like he even like I had seen interviews for Masters of the Year. Like I was watching. I mean, I was talking to Varun
Yeah,
also about it. Like
Mm.
he's like a huge Masters of. I
Ha
mean,
yes.
Band of Brothers fan, but then he went to Masters of the Year and is slightly disappointed. But even in this, like he sounds very much like his like regular, like Midwest kind of. Almost like cowboy-esque like sound. Like he would totally would have been cast in Power of the Dog. Like I really
Interesting,
feel
yeah.
like it works. His imagery works a lot. It's very
Sure.
iconic, and his presence is a lot more powerful and intentful.
Intentional,
Then
I
Raban
suppose, I guess.
intentional.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Then Raban or this guy,
Well,
like,
Raban
because
is bad
his
in
agenda
this.
is
But
he has like
anyways, right.
Raban just screams throughout the
Yeah.
movie.
That
there's a
hurt my
great
ears.
sequence where he like bombs that entire like the mountain, right? Like that's
Yes,
such
yes.
a
Image,
like,
yeah, imagery
just
wise, yes. But I mean, then he gets almost killed by one of them, but someone shoots a
yeah.
laser from behind or something like that, right?
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
like it's showing him like at the brink of like death, and
Yeah.
that's when like that's what I really liked about like how they showed the helplessness of Harkonnens via sequence rather than them saying, "Oh, we are losing all these places." That is the biggest criticism I have of this movie is like those 6 mentats going on a screen and seeing all this stuff die. Like that makes no sense.
Okay. No, but I
Yeah.
feel some of it he does do. Like even I remember in Blade Runner 2049, there was this moment where he did a flashback just to make sure that people haven't forgotten what was established. And I'm like, I think that's very much like, I hope you guys know what I'm doing and what is happening on screen. But otherwise, if he had a choice, he'd just like chuck that out from his
Yeah, you
own
could
sort of
easily
vocab.
get rid of that. It's
But I
more
feel
of a
that spareness is
Rab-
there in like your enemy and or what. I mean, enemy is a
I think
little too
Raban's.
confusing almost.
I think
but whatever.
Raban's entire character arc, which is being completely misplaced in this movie and completely fails. I think it also undercuts Gurney Halleck's character arc because Gurney Halleck wanted to kill Raban.
I thought
I thought
their moment just popped out of nowhere as one of those heroic.
It completely felt like it came out of nowhere, and
Well, I guess they were. If you look at it as a continuation of the first movie, it makes sense because he does have a whole sequence of him fighting and then losing.
No. I agree with you that it makes sense, but like you were saying, spatially speaking, Gurney Halleck, spatially speaking, is very good. Like Gurney Halleck appearing out of nowhere to kill Raban. In a criticism I read that came out of nowhere. I think it's not the coming out of nowhere. I think it's the fact that Raban's character was so ultimately completely neutralized. Even before he was killed, he was completely.
This was like the rise of
Skywalker.
में कौन था वो last the Brendan Gleeson character, not Brendan Gleeson.
Hux.
Is it Brendan Gleeson? No. Was his son?
Domhnall
Gleeson, उसका बेटा.
Domhnall Gleeson, yes. Brendan to बाप है, yes. He is बाप also, yes.
He is बाप.
He is a बाप also. Yeah.
But yes, before we extend this conversation to plus 2-3 hours, which I expected this to be like 1.5 hours. But anyways, I wanted to ask you guys, since you guys all were so disparaging yesterday when I said I haven't watched Lawrence of Arabia. What is the Lawrence of Arabia connection here except for the desert? Like just asking as a person who hasn't. Is the whole colonialist
scale? I think scale. Number one is scale.
Scale shots,
definitely.
the wide
angle shots, sunrise, sunset shots.
Okay.
His acceptance scene into the tribe.
Really great scene. I thought Timothy Chalamet did very well in that scene also. Like
also Chalamet really delivered for me. Like complete.
Considering how much Amartya has been throwing shade at the poor guy.
Since Call Me by Your Name, this is his better movie. Like since that's why
I can't disagree.
No, also I was saying this.
Yeah.
I was saying this. I was talking to one of my friends. Like given that he did a very sweet kind of character just a couple of months ago in Wonka, and then he's doing
Oh, you
this
didn't like Wonka, no? I
poetry.
liked him in Wonka. Sorry, sorry.
I liked him in Wonka. I
No,
liked
no,
him in
not
Wonka.
you.
That's what I'm.
Hemant didn't like
I
Wonka, so I was like,
hated
I
him.
liked
It
him in
was
Wonka.
it was not
Acha.
charismatic at all. You're thinking that this
Fair
guy's
enough.
gonna be Fred Astaire, really? Like I just it makes no sense to me.
Somebody was comparing him to Fred Astaire.
Yeah.
So
But वो उनकी
He's
गलती है,
supposed to
but it's
play
are
okay.
you
Fred
crazy?
Astaire. He's supposed to play Fred
Are you
Astaire
crazy?
in the movie.
Okay,
Yeah. In his biopic. Yeah.
can't believe I'm defending. Anyways, I did enjoy Wonka, so I can't say anything. What were you saying,
Timothée
Prithvish?
Chalamet was supposed to play the role of Al
Oh,
Pacino's
okay.
character in Heat 2. I'm
Okay,
like, come
fine.
on, man.
Okay.
He
Amartya,
was
you were
supposed
nice
to play
about
Bob
him.
Dylan as well. He was supposed to play Bob Dylan as well, but that biopic is just shelved right now.
Why
It was
would you
supposed
But
to be
do a
after,
directed
Bob
by.
but
Dylan
after this,
movie after
but
the
after
Todd
this,
Haynes thingy? Whatever,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
have not
After
seen
this
it.
Dune 2 movie, I can actually see him as a version of Al Pacino in Heat. I
Hmm.
can actually, because that intensity which
Hmm.
it showed in that last sequence, I'm like,
Hmm.
damn,
But he is still,
sold me.
I mean, he still doesn't have that rustiness in
Well,
him.
his face isn't
He's
like that,
still that,
no.
his face is still that Choco Boy type.
Hmm.
He still fits as Wonka. He still
Yeah.
has that. I mean, definitely the cunningness he had, or the slight kind of that gray shadedness.
I
It
think
does
someone
suit.
as someone we're talking about Timothy Chalamet. My wife is right here who's the biggest fan of Timothy Chalamet. Come on.
I sense
He just
sarcasm
said
here.
she just said he ruined Wonka.
Oh my God, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, okay, if you want someone to be a likable person and then also become a hero and then be a leader of
Hmm.
people and like someone who can instill fear in people, that whole scene of where he turns into like righteous gemstones, where he turns into like a whole evangelical guy, where he looks at people, there's that one weak guy, they find him, the camera finds him, like he'll be, hey, and then he goes to him like, your mothers have been talking about me, everyone
Yeah.
has been talking about me. You know
He
that
looked like Leonardo DiCaprio's Jordan Belfort in the final
yeah.
sequence of Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. And
Yeah.
he just goes in. I really love that I love that he could sell that, and he was able to not be like, you can very easily be like funny in
Shrill?
this way. You can be
Shrill,
silly.
funny.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can be very, very easy. Like how, like imagine, dude, like Javier Bardem was like showing silly. He was playing silly the whole movie,
Yeah.
and like actually believing it
I
in
mean,
his
the other aspect of it is you can easily be cartoonish like Hayden Christensen in Revenge of the
Oh my
Sith.
God, please, no,
Oh,
it's fine. I think this is
oh,
much better.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, like
Hmm.
Yeah, Darth Vader mask leke he's shouting no, and I'm like, hey, बच्चे सोने जा please.
But that's not just
ऐसा मत
his fault
कर.
also, ना? तो जिसने
yeah,
बनाई
it's
है उसको भी तो बोलोगे. But
but
anyways, I
yeah,
think
like
that's
I mean, a closing thought for me would be
Mhm.
that like this is a great setup on to the
another
next movie.
setup.
Yeah, this is I guess this is like
No, but this is
like creating a one shot.
better.
I thought this had I think that even if you don't make a new one, this
Exactly,
might
yeah.
still work
This
as a
ends well.
conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
this ends
ends
well.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this ends well, and it doesn't it promises things, but it doesn't really give too much away.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Which
so I
makes
think
sense also considering how Dune Messiah begins. It
Dune,
makes sense
yeah,
also
I mean,
that
Dune
yeah.
Messiah is
And
we are
also
scared,
I don't know.
basically.
And
I didn't say it
am I?
earlier, like the thing that they
I'm also
got
curious
wrong.
about.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Prithvish, go on. Yeah.
No, I was saying, considering that time jump in Dune Messiah, are they? I think they're going to recast Paul and everyone, because
No,
Why
Alia
we
is
can
going
we
to
can
be.
do like Emily Blunt type wig, no, in Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer.
so that
Oh,
we make
dude,
Dune into a
that
total
was
comedy.
No.
that was kind of awful. That was
No,
kind of
I
awful.
think there's going to be like a physical change that they'll have to
Huh.
do with Timothy Chalamet for sure. They'll have to make him meaty, man. Like, yeah, give him some food. Like, what is he like?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, my mom would see him and be like, "Oh, khata hi nahi." And this guy, like, this guy is like, he really needs to bulk up in some way, or they need to like I don't know, replace him
I
with
don't think they will
Anna
recast
Johnson.
him. I don't
I-
think he will
He
recast
needs
it.
I don't
to
think, yeah.
go full Chris Pratt. He needs to go full
or
Chris
Paul
Pratt.
Mescal, like they'll add in Paul Mescal as the as
Mm.
Dude, that guy
Sir,
is
already
one of
Gladiator का
the.
second part आ रहा है, मत बोलो sir, please.
He's in that?
Already
He's
Gladiator.
already
yeah
he's
he is,
already a
yeah.
commercial star. He's already a
He's in
commercial star
Gladiator
by
2.
this.
No,
I,
not yet. No,
someone
no.
needs to
Paul
explain
Mescal is
me
still
the
a little
Paul
bit
Mescal
indie.
fandom because I'm still not sold. So, but
Dude, I
anyways,
am
Paul
so
fine.
sold.
Mescal
Have you seen Normal
basically
People?
I've not
normal
seen
people
that.
and
No, no. After Sun, I'm not
This
dude.
I'm not
Normal
crazy
People, All
about.
of
I'm not
Strangers.
crazy about him in All of Us Strangers, but not because of his
Four
own
sucked.
fault.
4 is horrible. 4 is just a bad movie.
Four I haven't seen, so yeah.
Okay.
4 is apparently
But
extremely bad. Yeah.
you can catch him. That movie also came out na beach mein, The Lost Daughter, Maggie
Yes,
Gyllenhaal.
I
I love
don't
that
like that movie
That
also, so fine.
What?
Yeah,
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 he
what?
fine.
doesn't like Lost
Sorry.
Daughter. Believe me,
Oh
I
my
am also
God,
shocked.
dude.
And I
Like,
love Olivia Colman, so that is
yeah, I
added
know. Like,
context
what
to
is
it. Yeah.
like? Did you not
बाद
like Empire
में
of Light also?
yeah, I didn't like it that much. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, this
Yeah.
is just painful. Like, anyway, like, okay, I
This
can't
is
get angry today. I
painful.
started my day off
This is
nicely. I can't end it badly.
Yes, good
So,
final closing thoughts and like happy
yeah,
thoughts
so
on Dune
for
Part 2.
like I love the great movie, great music, great storytelling. It's a really rewatchable movie. I will watch this on a plane someday
Yes.
again, and
On a plane someday, someone Denis Villeneuve to late jayega sir.
Also, yeah.
let's
I will
stick
say
with
this.
Sanjeet here. Let's stick with
yeah.
Sanjeet here. Sanjeet Singh will have a heart attack if he listens to this.
Yeah.
Dude,
Okay.
whenever
But
I have this flight anxiety right now, so my wallpaper in the मेरा laptop पे is this the litany against fear from Dune. So whenever the plane is going to take off, I'm like, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is
Oh
the
my
little death that.
it is a small death.
Yeah,
I
I become
watched Blade Runner 2049 on the plane the second time. It was
Oh man.
played
Did you
played
wake up while
amazingly.
you were watching just as you woke up where Kay wakes up while he's flying
No, no,
over
no,
it?
no. I watched it properly like throughout. It worked amazingly well. But anyways, yeah. So Prithvish, final thoughts. Amartya, final thoughts.
final thoughts, as in like I have said what I've already
Have you
said,
seen
but
it twice
since
already?
I've seen it twice already.
Twice. Okay.
So yeah, as I said, I was lucky enough to be
You
invited
went
for
to
the
the
premiere
premiere,
and
right?
then premiere, and then I was just one of the lucky winners in a contest, and they just
Okay.
invited me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
good.
I mean, I
Through the
didn't
sound,
expect.
through the soundtrack, like in the end, the second song that comes in the credit,
Which one?
the
Oh, अच्छा, अच्छा.
Yes, this I know.
That
Yeah.
yeah. Only I Will
it's
Remain and
I think
Lisa
it's
and
called
Akhil.
Only I Will Remain, and I think it's also repeated in the A Time of Quiet Between the Storms.
Okay.
That
That's the one that plays in the movie. That plays the
Yes, yes.
the
The
desert.
it's the after the kiss
No,
only, no?
I think
Oh no.
yeah, I think what Omotoda said right in the beginning, that Villeneuve is constantly improving in his directorial techniques and in his technical or even in storytelling techniques as well. I think the storytelling part could have been a little bit more fleshed out, which I kind of agree with Anupama Chopra, which
Oh,
the
did you see the
storytelling
review?
part
I'm not. What
she
did she say?
yeah
I was
Follow?
reading it
she
in the
I'm not.
beginning.
I'm
Yeah.
not seeing the
she just
reviews. I'm not taking them seriously with regards to this movie of all things. No,
she
sorry.
just wanted a lot more emotional depth,
Romance.
a lot
Okay.
of a lot of emotional
I
weightage.
don't. Hold on.
What she
Hold
heard
on. I
of
don't
or
get
what
this.
she
I don't get this. इमोशनल डेप्थ मतलब क्या है? तुम लोगों को क्या कुआं चाहिए? क्या चाहिए तुम लोगों को? How
Watch
much
it.
do you need?
see Omotoda, you have to understand one point. They didn't play Sari Duniya Jala Denge in the final fight. So you
Exactly.
have to
Exactly.
understand
That's a
it
problem.
was yes, exactly. You have to understand that there was not any guy who was saying मेरा भाई Lizanal गायब है, so there was another guy who was saying मेरा भाई Harkonnen है. पिछले 2 घंटे से एक दूसरे को तोड़ रहे हैं. So they didn't have these dialogues. It was completely on the basis of visuals and sound. So that's why I think Anubhav Chopra was asking more of it.
I mean,
But
right now,
yeah, jokes aside,
we are in the phase of not a backlash. अभी तो आएगा. अभी तो increase होएगा.
अभी तो आएगा
हाँ.
का मतलब क्या है? It's already coming.
मतलब और
Yeah.
भी आएगा. Like it's
I
that
mean,
sort of.
I think the biggest thing that people take away from it is that they will probably not like. Eventually, they'll not like the fact that he. I agree that the whole switch between him being a good leader versus a bad leader, that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
too sudden,
Again,
and I think
again,
that's something that
yeah,
people are
yeah. That's a
gonna latch
thing.
onto.
That's a legit thing. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but that can't make or break the movie entirely. You can still see
No, no, of
Yeah.
course
merits
not.
in it, right?
Of
But
course
this
So,
is
not. Yeah, yeah.
this is like that whole Killers of the Flower Moon argument that
oh
Varun had
God.
about the whole age thing about like them this thing.
Oh,
Like,
no,
that's
no.
something
I
that
have
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
how.
problems with it, but I'm not sure I have that
That
Varun
wasn't.
problem with it.
I would never think that that's a problem that I'll have
Yeah, yeah.
with a movie. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but I have other problems with that movie, but we've discussed those
come
multiple
on.
Please
times.
no more. Please no more.
Yes, we have
Please no
discussed
more.
those
I'm
multiple
sorry. Please
times.
no more. Yeah.
Yeah, after this recording ends, we'll be discussing why I don't like The Lost Daughter, I suppose. We
Hmm.
haven't thought about in since you guys mentioned it.
2 years
Yeah.
since it came out. Yeah.
But yes, I think thank you for listening. I did not know the podcast
Hey,
will
I
go on
did
for
not give
this
my
long.
closing
Yeah, I
thoughts.
know.
What
Oh,
the hell?
sorry, I
Amartya,
forgot. अरे तो
fuck
मैंने भी
you,
नहीं दी है.
yeah,
अच्छा,
like,
nice.
because you start
Okay.
saying fuck so much.
हाँ,
Yeah.
Amartya, sorry. Go ahead. Give your closing thoughts.
Sorry for being the Leah Sidhu of the podcast. Also.
Yes.
I have to say I have a special I won't say dislike, but I'm not a Leah Sidhu fan in blockbusters for some reason. I just find her so limited
seen
She
to
just
playing
gets
that.
stereotyped. She
Have you
just
seen
gets stereotyped.
Have you
Hmm.
seen France? Like
Oh,
the
she's fantastic in France. No, but she's good in like
That's
when
not
you have to
mainstream
do
of all
when you have to
anything.
do your weird art house movie. She's
Dude, it's not art.
magnificent.
It was a blockbuster in France. Like that was like a
Really?
huge hit. Yeah, it
Okay,
was a
never,
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
no,
hit. Like
okay.
they made a lot of money in France.
Okay. So not my favorite performance might be like One Fine Morning, which I think is like she's
Okay.
amazing in that.
Yeah.
Anyways, you
Again,
go
I am
ahead,
one of those
Amartya.
guys. I am one of those
Hmm.
guys who likes her in No Time to Die, which you don't
I
like.
thought you were going to
Yeah.
say French Dispatch because you know why. Like some
Yeah, yeah,
lewd
yeah.
No,
comment
I mean,
about that.
I actually loved her in French Dispatch for like character reasons and stuff. Like
No, I do.
even
I
in
know.
No Time to Die, for sure, she is the best
Really?
good Bond
Okay.
girl that could have been cast.
See, see, see,
I've
see,
never liked her in
see.
that. But anyways,
Yeah,
that's
see.
see क्या आप अपने final thoughts जल्दी बोलो.
So, what more final thoughts? Anyway, so as a
I
person who did
you
not
said you
एक
stopped
second,
me from
एक second,
concluding the
एक second,
podcast.
This
एक
is what I
second.
feel like being married, by the way.
Yeah, एक second. No, as a person who did not like the first movie as much as 98%
You didn't
of the
like it.
population,
Just say that.
98% of the population, as much as
Yeah.
98% of the population, I think this was a massive improvement because this is the movie which actually Villeneuve wanted to tell. And the first movie was the foundation.
Hmm.
I think some flaws aside, which there are a couple of flaws.
So you
some
don't
flaws
think
aside,
it's the number 6th best film in the history of the
No,
film
no.
universe? Yeah.
No. I don't think so. No. But it's also the fact that as a movie that came out in 2024, early 2024, this is pretty great. I think
Yeah.
this
This will
easily is one of
also have the
this
legs
easily is
for.
going to be one of the better blockbusters of the year,
Mhm.
unless Kevin Costner's Horizon movie is fantastic, which I'm hoping
Hey,
it is
that
because
movie felt like one of those Western white male savior tropes.
Yeah, dude.
And
I don't
Because it
showing
is.
like that's
showing
whole
Because
of
it
this whole
is.
Horizon thing. Like.
and showing
Oh, so
Because it
rating
is.
as
is
villains.
Clint Eastwood directing it?
Yeah,
Co-directing
No,
it.
Kevin
I mean,
Costner.
I don't know
Kevin
why
Co-directing
Costner.
it. Yes.
Kevin Costner is the director, and it felt like one of those old boomers returning as
हाँ,
directors.
वही Clint Eastwood जो बनाते रहता
Okay,
है
I'm not
आजकल.
getting the bad vibes here. What's the problem
अच्छा,
with old boomers
okay,
directing
done.
westerns?
Okay, my thoughts are
Okay,
similar
No,
so
to.
no,
we
hold
have,
on.
what are we
Hold on. एक
expecting?
चीज
Like, we
तो
are expecting this to beat out Furiosa.
Furious
Yeah,
in the
that's the
trailer
one thing.
looked
That's
very
the
By
one
the way,
thing I'm
did
tacky, I
waiting
anyone
have to
for.
notice
say.
when they were going on south, it really felt like they were in Fury Road for a
Yes,
second.
हाँ,
exactly.
there is
Yeah.
Camera
that
dollied in.
yes. Also, there is
Yeah,
that painting like shot of the storm coming, which is
Yeah.
always reminiscent of Fury
Oh, what
Road.
a
Like at-
lovely day, Jessica.
yeah. Like at the end of 2024, like beginning of 2025, when I will be making my top 10 list, if I have to put blockbusters, I sincerely hope Furiosa is in this. I definitely think Dune 2 will be in this because
Mhm.
I don't think any other mainstream blockbuster is going to
I'm
reach some of the
surprised.
heights this movie
I'm
did.
surprised you're not that much excited about Joker day, whatever it's called.
No, Folia do. No, I'm
Folia
not.
Folia
Folia
Day.
do.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
I'm not because it's a
It's going to be
musical.
a
I'm
musical.
definitely not
It's a
excited.
musical.
So it's Alice doesn't live here anymore. Whatever Scorsese made, which was
Yeah,
the
exactly.
musical.
Whatever
Yeah.
Scorsese movie
Is
Todd
it
Phillips
is
is
it
now
or is it
inspired
just
from.
me
Yeah.
Sorry.
or is it just me who is just low-key excited about Godzilla and Kong?
I've not seen the Adam Wingard version, but best
We
me
saw,
it
we
must
saw
be
the
a bit.
trailer before the movie. I was just, I was rolling my eyes the whole
Yeah.
time. Oh my God,
Adam
this is
Wingard is
cool.
only directing, right? This one
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Anyways, we have deviated a lot. We've partially become a music podcast today. We have partially become
Which was
a
good, by the way.
which was very good. But
Yeah.
no, we should do this more. We should discuss Lord of the Rings as
Special,
well
yeah.
once.
Dude,
Uh,
no, let's not do
okay.
Lord of the Rings we
Fine.
can
Bore
do 2
everyone.
hours. Lord of the Rings we can
2
do 2 to
hours.
3 hours.
You
Yeah,
took
yeah,
we
easily.
took 2 hours
Man,
for
what
one
what
movie.
Kool-Aid did you drink? Where, there is no 2 hours in Lord of the
10
Rings.
hours
Oh yeah,
for
yeah, of
Lord of
course
the
not.
Rings.
It's
2 hours you get
3.5
an
to 4.
intro. You
It's
get
3.5 to 4, yeah.
Yeah.
you
So
get
okay, yeah,
only
but
intro. Okay, that's it.
we went through a lot of stuff today, just like Dune goes through a lot of stuff, I suppose. We hope you enjoyed some parts of it, like we enjoyed a lot of parts of Dune. I think that's the only for whoever has stuck through until now. I think that's the only wish I guess I
Yeah,
had that you guys
you are
did like
you
it
are
till
the
here.
MVP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
You
are
are
the
the
You are the
Lisan
Lisan
Al
Al Gaib. You are
the
the
You are
man,
the
Lisan Al
Lisan Al
dog.
Gaib.
Whoever
You are
said that.
the whoever's listening.
I basically have to end this podcast with the Javi Bardem essentially, right? And the
Yes,
Lisan Al
yes,
Gaib
yes.
thing.
That's
Right,
written.
As it
right.
is written. As it
As
is
it is
written,
written.
yes.
Okay. Khatam.